Hello there, film fans and movie lovers and cinema buffs and all you type of people out there. It is time for another episode of Dan and Frankie Go to Hollywood, so strap yourselves in for a good time. My name is Dan.
And I'm Frankie.
And, well, let's just kick things off with how have you been, like, since your near-death experience with COVID? I'm just hyping it up a little bit for sensationalism here, of course. But
yeah, although it is, like, I don't often get sick, so that was one of the worst things I've had. Because as far, I mean, probably I had bad things when I was a kid, but as far back as I can remember, I just get colds every now and then, and that's pretty much it. So, yeah, I haven't had the whole body aches and fevers and all that stuff. But yeah, it took... Once I got over the worst of it, then I had another week of just weird stuff. And then that kind of ended. And then there were just a couple of lingering things, like my appetite didn't come back until pretty much this weekend.
Wow.
Which I didn't even know that was a thing, that after you get sick, that's a thing, that you don't have your appetite. So...
Oh, yeah. No, that's one thing for those of us who, sort of think to yourselves, I can afford to lose a few kilos. Like, you get sick and it's like, yay, I don't have an appetite now. I mean, my whole body is shut down and I'm possibly going to die from this, but I'm going to be thinner on the other side. So.
Well, I haven't checked, but I'm hoping that happened to me a little bit. There may be a slight difference, so that's, I could have, I wanted a slight difference, so yeah, that could have helped. Not a silver lining. If
there's anyone out there who's looking for a way to lose weight fast, just find a COVID hotspot, go and lick some chairs, or just cuddle a lot of people and stuff, and you'll be thinner in no time. That is,
I'm sure there's easier ways.
That medical advice is not sanctioned by any health department.
Definitely don't do that.
Yeah, I'm just kind of rambling at the moment, but it's what I do. Yeah. Well, I'm very glad to hear that you're feeling better anyway. Cause,
and it's nice to have an Easter long weekend, just to have some extra time off work, and when I'm feeling good, so I can watch tons of movies, which I did.
I was going to say, so what did you get up to over the Easter long weekend? But I realised that is the most futile question I could possibly ask you. So, yeah. Well, I'm glad you had a long weekend. I have not had a long weekend.
I would have gone out to see a movie, a particular movie that is highly anticipated, but my local cinema decided not to show it when these advanced screenings were happening, so I have to wait. But you didn't, and we'll hear about that later.
Oh, we will be hearing about that later, but yeah.
You had a much busier weekend than me.
Oh, that is so very true. So I'm in the middle of moving house at the moment, which everyone can relate to that. It's not a good time. But yeah, all the big stuff is done. But it's one of those things, like, even though the big stuff is gone, you sort of realize how much little stuff you really have. Like, it's crazy, especially for a, pop culture nerd collector / hoarder like myself. But look, we're getting there. It's just one step at a time, but anyway, but it's all good.
I remember moving. One of the biggest jobs I had was boxing up all my books and movies.
Oh yeah, that was the thing. Because I have an entire room of the place that I'm living in at the moment, which is dedicated to movie shelves, and so that obviously took a little bit of time, but we got there in the end, and of course that was the very first thing I set up at the new house. So because priorities.
Yeah,
exactly. Who needs to eat dinner and all that sort of stuff? Whatever, just as long as the movie shelves look good. So yeah.
So I thought of a fun question to ask you today.
Did you?
It's combining your two loves of music and movies.
Oh, I thought my two loves were Margot Robbie and cats.
Well,
I mean, sorry, my fiance and my fiance. That's my two loves in life. Whoopsies, because she listens to this. So, yeah. Anyway, please continue.
Okay, two of your loves.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, if you were in a film and you were in a band,
Oh.
what kind of band would it be, and which actors would you have to play your bandmates?
Oh, wow. That is a fantastic question. Okay. The first part was what sort of band, is that correct?
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. Well, it'd have to be a rock band, like a hard rock band. Although I don't know, like I'm into so many different things. Like I mean, lately I've been in a real industrial metal sort of a phase. So, but no, let's go with a traditional rock band. And which actors would be my bandmates? The very first person that's popping up in my mind for some reason is Seth Green. I don't.
As
Oh, yeah, good question. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's. Well, I'm on bass because that's my favorite instrument to play. Seth would. Yeah. Okay. I'm seeing him as a guitarist. That may be because of his character Oz from Buffy. I don't know, but he's just got really rad sort of 90s hair like and he's never kind of escaped from that image, so I'm gonna go with him. On drums. Oh, I know exactly who I'm putting on drums. I'm putting Ted Pryor on drums, and the reason is because he actually is a drummer. He's actually a multi instrumentalist, but no, I'm putting Ted Pryor on drums because not only that, having Mike Danton on a drum kit, you're going to have to go through like 5 kits per gig, like because Danton is just going to obliterate those drums. And I think just for laughs, I'm putting Jason Mewes on vocals because that, yeah, this just all sounds
is
like a
this more?
perfect storm of
I can see like
chaos.
new metal.
I I'm starting to, I don't know, I'm losing
I can
faith
see
in
that
that
when you say
band.
Jason Mewes, and I just think of like all his stuff in
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah. No, I don't. Look, you know what? Maybe we're kind of a multi-genre kind of a band. We don't really pigeonhole ourselves into hard rock or metal or new metal
Maybe you can
or
be a cover band.
no. I've done that way too many times. I don't do cover bands anymore. But yeah, okay, that's and we've just got the one guitar. I don't think we're gonna overcrowd things, you know. Look, but if we're gonna have a keyboardist, I think we should go in the way that Guns N' Roses have done the last few years and have a hot female keyboardist for people to look at. So I am going. Look, you know what? Just to save time, we're putting Margot Robbie on keys, okay? Um, yeah, and just solely for the fact that it's just eye candy in the background. So yeah, we probably won't even plug the keyboard in if I'm being completely honest with you. Um, and she can just pretend. So there you go. Well, I actually thought of a question for you, believe it or not.
Hmm.
Like, it's not like we rehearsed this or anything. Or, no, not at all. It is just a random thing that I thought of a question for you. Okay, so if you could live in any fictional world, in any movie that you've seen, and we're only talking movies here, not books, where would you like to live? Like, what would be the ultimate place that you would feel happiest in?
Have thought about many films and wish that I lived in them.
Hmm.
But to be more realistic about it, because obviously I would want to live in the Lost Boys,
Hmm.
and but the realities of being a vampire not so fun. So,
Hmm.
uh, let me see.
And I mean, it can be other worlds, of course, like in sci-fi movies or fantasy films or anything like that.
I'm having a mind blank now. I mean, Dazed
Hmm.
and Confused would be pretty cool because I would love to live in the 70s.
Hmm.
I don't know, except it depends how much I have to be myself as well as what's going on in
Oh
the
no,
world.
just you. It's just you. So yeah.
Yeah, I know, but if I was in Dazed and Confused, then
Hmm.
I wouldn't be one of the cool people there. I'd be one of the, like, you know,
Hmm.
not cool people. Because actually, no, I don't. No, 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 no. I don't want to go into Dazed and Confused because then I would
Hmm.
be in high school. Oh, no. Thanks for that. That's never going to happen. What am I thinking?
Hmm.
Um, I feel like there should be some really obvious answers.
Well, there should be, but
Hang on, I'm gonna look at my most highly rated films because
okay.
obviously they're the best ones. I mean, La La Land would be fun,
Yeah, that's true, but then you'd have to sing a lot.
but if I step into a musical, does that mean I automatically can sing?
No, it doesn't.
Because,
No,
okay.
I'm sorry. That's
Oh, okay, cancel that. Um,
wow. I didn't realize this was going to come with rules and stuff, but yeah, here we are.
because I just see Last Night in Soho sounds cool until you think about it, and then don't want to be in that. Um, don't want to be in any David Lynch films because that would be scary. Ooh, Labyrinth.
Ah, very good. All right. Cool, cool, cool. And I got to admit, that took way longer than I thought it was going to take to come to an answer, but
You know what I'm like.
I do know what you're like.
It's such an open question.
Did you have a an answer for your own question about the band and
Well,
stuff?
no,
Or?
I haven't even thought about it,
Yeah, no,
and
that's
you
fair
probably
enough.
don't want me to think about it.
Yeah, no, no, cool. Yeah, that was actually quite weird because when I asked you the question, I was instantly thinking of, like fantasy worlds or sci-fi and stuff, but then you immediately gravitated straight towards Earth. So, but in the end, you pick Labyrinth. So, yeah, that's
Well, only
kind of.
because, Lost Boys I've seen so many times and thought how cool it would be to be in it, so that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. I always had this thing ever since I was a kid that I loved the idea of living on Tatooine from Star Wars because the aesthetic of everything looks so freaking cool. The costumes, the buildings, the vehicles, like everything I just love. But then I remember how much I hate hot weather, and I'm like, yeah, I probably wouldn't last a day on that
I
planet.
think we come at this question from different angles too, because you seem to be thinking more about the world and where you are, whereas I'm thinking about the characters in that world that I would interact with, and I
Yeah.
think of that more than where it is, which is probably why I don't automatically go to like fun. I mean, even
Yeah.
Labyrinth, I don't know how fun that would be because not really any humans there, but you know, there's Jareth, so
No, that is interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting way that we came, yeah, from a couple of different angles. So, very good. But speaking
oh,
of movies, and I
I
mean,
thought of
you've
another one, just Tremors.
oh, really? You want to
Yeah.
live?
Like if I knew that I wasn't going to die.
Ah, yeah, but you don't know that. See, that's the thing. So, yeah,
You're
and
saying it doesn't
you
have to be
probably
real
will.
worlds, but then you're putting these real world rules on. It's a movie.
Yeah.
Someone can write me to live.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But speaking of movies, so as you mentioned, you've been watching lots and lots of them.
Yeah.
What's been on your list lately? What are some of the standouts of the 6 million
Well,
movies
I'm
you've
just
seen?
gonna say before I start, we have an Emma Stone film that we're talking about as one of our main films today.
True.
And I decided to get back to my Emma Stone film project, which is watching all of her films in order. So I thought I kind of watched a couple and then stopped. So I thought I'll pick it back up and I'll try and get up to the movie we're going to talk about, so I don't have to break the thing of watching them in order.
Right.
So I watched Seven.
God. Wait, Emma Stone was in Seven? I don't remember her in that. No, just kidding. Um, wow. Well, okay. So everyone now knows that you're a weirdo. That's cool. So, all
They're all
right.
very
So,
different
what
films.
were the 7 Emma Stone films that you've watched?
So they are The Rocker, The House Bunny, Ghost of Girlfriends Past, Paperman, Marmaduke, Zombieland, and Easy A.
Wow.
And Zombieland was a rewatch. The rest, oh, and Ghost of Girlfriends Past was a rewatch, but I saw it so long ago I didn't remember it, and there was kind of a reason I didn't remember it. The rest were all new, and I would say, oh, the best films were actually the first and last, The
Oh,
Rocker and
okay.
Easy A.
Yeah, The Rocker is really good. I think out of I can't remember out of all of those that. Sorry, read the list again. What was it?
The Rocker, The House Bunny, Ghost of Girlfriends Past, Paperman, Marmaduke, Zombieland, Easy A.
Okay, so yeah, out of all of those, I've only seen two, which were The Rocker and Zombieland.
And
The
Zombieland, I wasn't counting as best because I've seen it before. So I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
talking about the first time watches.
Well, if you recall, I'm pretty sure I put The Rocker on our very first episode, like on episode
Yeah,
0, as one of the films to get to know me
it's
because
part of the reason why I got back to the project because you talked about it, and I was like, oh yeah, I have to
right,
watch The
right,
Rocker.
yeah,
So
because that
yeah, that was
whole
really fun.
premise of almost throwing in the towel and giving up your dream, in this case, yeah, being a musician, but having another shot at it and all that sort of stuff, like, yeah, god, I could relate so heavily to that plot. So yeah, so no, I do like that film. It's
Yeah,
not amazing, but it's a good time.
yeah, it is, and
Yeah.
it's funny because I saw Bradley Cooper's name pop up, and I was like, oh, he's in this. And
Mm-hmm.
then I was like, who is he in this? And because I don't know him that well, so I didn't recognize him. And so I
Right.
had to look it up. And I'm like, okay, he's a guy called Trash. Who's that? And then I didn't realize till um, near the end
Mm-hmm.
because he's in the main band at the start and then they come back later on in the movie. And
Right.
then, yeah, because he's got the long black hair and eyeliner and just, yeah,
Yeah.
he looks pretty good. And then
um
Easy A was a different, like, it's sort of like a teen comedy. So I was
mhm.
expecting a certain thing, but it's actually a bit different from the usual. And
Oh,
so
okay.
I really liked it. It was
Right.
fun. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a film that I think has kind of been on my radar a little over the years, probably mainly because of Emma Stone, but
Mm.
I don't think I've seen it.
Definitely, like,
Yeah.
if you like Emma Stone, then you definitely want to watch that.
Yeah.
And The House Bunny and Ghosts of Girlfriends Past were not the best,
Hmm.
but worth watching for her because like House Bunny, she was playing like her character was really funny, so it was just really interesting seeing her play that type of character.
Right,
And
right.
then Ghosts of Girlfriends Past, which is obviously a play on um, Christmas Carol, and so she plays the ghost of girlfriend past because
Oh,
she
okay.
was the first girl that he hooked up with. So
Right.
she's like this 16-year-old girl from the 80s, and she's
Oh,
got this
okay.
frizzy curly hair and everything. And she's so good in that and so funny. And she's in
Right.
scenes with Matthew McConaughey and Michael Douglas and just stealing them. So
Oh,
had
cool.
Breckin Meyer in it too, which is probably why I watched it, him and Matthew McConaughey in the first place.
Oh, okay.
Did not remember it really,
Right.
but yeah, it's not.
Okay, that sounds like
Something.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was good.
Cool.
And so I've got Crazy Stupid Love that we're going to talk about, which I watched again.
Yep.
And so I think the next couple of films are ones I haven't seen before. So I shall continue on
Well,
and
good,
report back
because
next time.
then eventually you will see Cruella and you'll be
Yeah.
like, oh my god, you were so right about that film. Uh, well, kicking off my list of things I've seen lately, and it's one that, yeah, so thanks to stupid COVID, you didn't get to go to the premiere, but I don't really know that you missed much, and that was Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Um, oh, look, yeah. I mean, Afterlife to me was such a great film. I loved it, and I thought it was such a great way for the legacy characters to pass the torch on to the new characters, and let them kind of take the reins on the next one and stuff. Like, yeah, and Afterlife had so much heart and soul. It was, yeah, it was so great. So the trailers for Frozen Empire I thought looked pretty good. I thought the villain looked amazing. That massively tall demon with the gigantic horns and the glowing eyes and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, the film was okay at best. The
Yeah, I
main
haven't heard the best things
yeah,
about
well,
it
when I
from
walked
anyone.
out of it, I bumped into Karen, the rep from Sony, and I was kind of like, "Oh shit, I hate this." When you have to give your report on a film, but I was honest. I said, "Oh look, yeah, I didn't like it that much." And I sort of thought, oh god, I hope I'm not the only one. But yeah, the reviews for it, yeah, have definitely been very average. But for me, the biggest problem with the film was that they just crammed in too many characters. If you watch the pitch meeting video for it, the very first thing that, screenwriter guy talks about is like, oh, and then we've got, this character and this character and this character, and producer guy's like, oh, okay, and then he's like, oh, and we're also going to have this person and this person and this. Like, that was the first thing that they dwelled on in that pitch meeting. So yeah, there was too many characters, so it didn't have enough time to let any particular set of characters develop properly. There was a lot of big plot holes in it and stuff, and the villain isn't really introduced until towards the end of the film, like in the third act. Like, throughout the film, it's just this ball that is supposed to be menacing, and it's like, wow, it's a really scary ball. So yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, a lot of reviews I'm seeing are mentioning the character thing, and so I think I might wait for streaming for that one.
Look, I think it's a good idea. I wasn't a really huge fan of it. It's not a terrible film, of course, but yeah, not only that as well, like, I just felt the legacy characters in it were completely pointless, They should have just had their thing in Afterlife and let the new characters take over, but it really, like, they took up a lot of screen time, and it's sort of like, oh wow, like, you're kind of taken away from who we want to be spending time with in this film. But anyway, that's just my opinion, so there you go. Yeah,
That's a bit sad.
Yeah, but like I said, it's not the worst film I've ever seen, that's for sure.
Well, I'll just mention quickly my Easter movie, because every year for the last few years, I rewatch Easter Parade around Easter time.
Right.
And so it's a Fred Astaire movie from 1948 where him and a dancing partner have a show that they're going around, and then she decides to leave. She got offered to do her own show. And so he's looking and he's like, oh, I can teach anyone to dance, and ends up in a bar where there's girls doing a show. And so he just picks one who's Judy Garland and tells her, because he's a bit drunk, tells her to turn up the next day to practice. So she quits her job and turns up, and she's, not the best.
Right.
But then he starts teaching her, and it goes from there. And yeah, it's pretty cool. There's another character who's sort of a friend that is the fella with an umbrella, which is one of the songs I love that he's singing about, it's raining and he gets an umbrella from somewhere to walk Judy Garland down the street, and so he's singing about, he's just the fella with the umbrella.
It's funny though. The plot, the way you described the plot, it sort of reminded me of Rhinestone.
Well, kind of, except she can dance.
Yeah. And it didn't feature the song
She's just sort of a bit
Stone.
more beginner level, and she has weird things like she's not completely sure of her left from her right and stuff like that. Just things for funny stuff, but yeah, it's definitely not like Rhinestone.
well, that's probably a good thing. So, yeah. Well, I finally got around to showing Kylie, my beloved fiance, who are the two loves of my life. Well, actually, if you count her and the two kids that are inside, that's the three loves of my life. So there you go. I finally got around to showing her The Pope's Exorcist, because she did not get to come to the premiere of that with us, and she's been wanting to see it ever since. So that was like a year ago or whatever. And yeah, finally got to show her that. And yeah, look, that movie still holds up. I just love that film. I know it had its naysayers, but they're all wrong.
But there are also a lot of people who were anti it because it's another Exorcist movie, and then went and saw it and were surprised. So
yeah, exactly. Cool. Look, yeah, it is another Exorcist film, just the same way as, every rom-com is another film like that, or, every Western is another film like that. Like, yeah, okay, sure, it's another Exorcist film, but it was wildly entertaining. Russell Crowe, I was about to call him Russell Brand. That would have been a really different film, wouldn't it? Yeah. Anyway, Yeah, Russell Crowe was just, my God, that performance was incredible.
It's what makes the movie.
Yeah, and the character was just brilliant. Unfortunately, the Blu-ray didn't have as much as I would have liked in terms of extra features. It only had like two, I think they were like 5-minute featurettes.
That's a common thing now, and it just makes me
Yeah.
sad. Like, even Top Gun Maverick, like one of the biggest movies, and so much would have gone into making it, and they just had these little 5-minute. I mean, the 4K had an hour-long interview that Tom Cruise did with the Actors Studio or something, but all the main features that were on the Blu-ray and everything was just all these 5-minute things, and
Yeah.
I'm like, this. They could have gone into so much detail with the training the actors had and
Oh
everything.
my God,
and
absolutely.
just not like a little short thing. It's quite sad.
Yeah, yeah. On the other hand, I recently picked up the Thanksgiving Blu-ray, which I haven't cracked open yet, but that has a plethora of extra features on it because Eli Roth is one of those directors who is a film fan first and foremost. Wow, that's some good alliteration there. A film fan first and foremost. So yeah, and I find people like him, Kevin Smith, James Gunn, yeah, because they're movie fans, they pack their discs with so much stuff. And yeah, the Thanksgiving disc has a hell of a lot of things on it. So I'm pretty keen to crack that open once this whole moving business is sorted out. But yeah, but anyway, no, and Kylie really enjoyed Pope's Exorcist as well. So yeah, that was really good to revisit that one.
I'm going to go obscure now.
Excellent.
There's a film I got from Radiance who are putting out a lot of cool stuff, and most of it I've never heard of, which is really fun. This one included, but this film was lost for like 40 years or something because when it came out in 1968, no distributors wanted to touch it. I think partly because the director had a short film censored and banned, and also because it's a film that you can't really define the genre, so they didn't know how to market it. So it's called A Woman Kills. It's a French film, and yeah, it's a hard one to describe. So it's basically about there's a load of prostitutes being murdered, and a woman who's a prostitute as well gets convicted for it and gets executed. And then on the day of her execution, and there's another murder, so it's kind of started up again. And you're following the guy who's the executioner and a woman who is the cop that worked on the case. But it's not really a crime. It's crime, but then it's also, it's just weird. I don't know how to describe it. It's black and white. The stuff the camera's doing is really different. Like the opening has like newspaper headlines and like narrations of the headlines about the woman who got executed. That's just in the little opening. And then when you cut to the first actual scene, it's like down this narrow alleyway and the camera's just moving along, going along the wall, and then it goes down low to the ground and back up, and it's just a thing. There's this like narration over the whole movie telling you sort of stuff going on. And there's just, everything. There's like weird camera angles. And then there'll be like a guy talking and the camera's just on his face and you can't see who he's talking to, which is the cop. And then it will be like on one side of his face, and then it will be front on, and then it will be like the other side of his face, and the lighting will change and all of this. And yeah, there's just really cool stuff. But I found that I don't know, it just sucked me in because it was so interesting looking and just beautiful shots. Throughout as well. I'm not completely 100% on everything going on, and there's also a political background that I know nothing about, because in 1968 in France there were protests and things going on at the time they were filming this. But yeah, and I also found out afterwards that the two main actors were apparently not professional actors, so that was interesting because I didn't pick up on that. There's a couple of scenes with the guy in particular that one in particular that was just fascinating, and it was interesting because and there's this weird jazzy, I think they call it free jazz score, so it's just all this weird stuff and unsettling noises. Like you'll just hear thunder and stuff that
So
I
would you
don't
say
think
it's
is
kind of
actually thunder.
borderline like an experimental / art house kind of a film, or
Probably counts as that. I don't know if it's part of the new wave or if it was just sort of before that. I can't remember when the new wave is. I'm not clued up on all that stuff. But yeah, it's just
okay,
quite weird. But yeah, this
yeah,
one scene in particular, all the music stops and it's just focused on the guy and what he's doing
yeah, right,
and just it kind of just stays there for quite a long time, but it's captivating. So
yeah.
yeah, that was a surprise. I didn't like I thought it sounded interesting, but I didn't expect to love it as much as I did.
And
So
what did you rate that one out of 5 stars?
4.5.
Whoa, wow, okay. Well, there you go, everybody.
Definitely not one for everyone, but if you like weird and different films, I would say give it a go.
All right, well, that sounds good. Well, being that I am the king of segues, speaking of foreign films, so for a while now, I love looking at lists of films that are, considered the most disturbing films ever made because I like to be disturbed by films. I like it when a film can move me, whether it be uproarious laughter or leave me bawling in tears. Damn you, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Or, any kind of extreme emotion, and so there's one film that I keep seeing on a lot of disturbing lists, and that is a 1985 Russian film called Come and See, which is a anti-war film. And then I've been sort of thinking, okay, like one day I'll check it out. And then I recently found a thing where it was explaining that this film is one of the highest rated films ever on Letterboxd, and I had a look, and yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's on 4.6, and the 5 column is towering over 4.5 and downwards, and
Which I have to say can
yeah,
sometimes be a warning sign.
yeah, but it was sort of coupled with the fact that it was on all those disturbing
Yeah.
films lists. So I was like, I've got to see this film. So I checked it out, and absolutely fuck that film. It enraged me. I'm watching this film and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, it's a little weird. It's kind of like what you described with A Woman Kills. Like, it's borderline kind of an art house sort of film. There's a lot of scenes where the characters are just standing, staring straight into the camera and talking, like close-ups on their faces, and it was sort of framed in a really weird way, and yeah, it was about this little Russian kid. He's like in his teens or something, and he conscripts with the Russian, not the Russian army. What were they? There was like a resistance movement. I can't remember exactly what they were called now, but to go and fight for Russia in World War II. And so he goes off and, sort of learns the horrors of war, and I read about how there was a scene where he's forced to watch an entire Russian village being slaughtered and stuff. I was like, oh, yeah, let's have a look at that. I want to be disturbed. That wasn't anywhere near as disturbing as the fact that they freaking killed an animal on screen. There is a scene where this kid is trying to move a cow through a field while there's live gunfire going on and stuff. And at one point, you hear a gunshot and like the cow just kind of lurches forward and hits the ground. And I'm like, man, this cow is like on par with Messi from Anatomy of a Fall in terms of animal actors. Like that's really good. And I'm sitting there thinking, I wonder how they did that. And then there are scenes like where the cow's eye is just kind of rolling around in a close-up and stuff. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, hang on, this was 1985. This is like a, Russian film. Like, oh, please don't tell me. And so I paused the film and looked it up. And yeah, they actually used live rounds on set and they actually killed the cow. And, so the next scene, this kid is like, trying to move this cow's corpse, and he's just like kind of picking up its leg and pulling and all this sort of gross stuff, and I'm just sitting there like, Nah, fuck this movie. Absolutely. Like, I watched it all the way through, and there's other instances of animal cruelty as well. There was a scene where this poor horse is laying on the ground on its side with its feet all tied together, and it's struggling to break free and move and everything. And, like, you know, none of the human tragedy stuff, even though things like that actually happened in the past, but sitting there and actually watching it in front of me, none of the human tragedy enraged me anywhere near as much as watching animals suffering on screen. So I'm warning people now, if there's anybody out there who has been curious about that film, just be prepared for what you're going to see, because I will never watch that movie again as long as I live. I wouldn't recommend it to a single person other than maybe a serial killer who likes to torture animals.
That's a film that I will never watch.
Don't ever watch it. It's absolutely not worth. I mean, like I said, the war stuff was, in parts it was actually kind of engaging. Overall, nah. And I also read somewhere some comment where someone was saying, because he meets up with this girl who's a teenager, I think she's about 15, 16 or whatever, and I read somewhere about how they were kind of over-sexualizing her and stuff, and I gotta admit, like, ordinarily I think people online, particularly on Letterboxd reviews, kind of exaggerate things, but there's like a scene where I can't remember why. Was it raining? I can't remember why, but she's in this dress and she's just completely drenched, and she's up on this table like dancing provocatively for this other kid and stuff, and I'm kind of sitting there, I'm like, I don't know if I feel comfortable about watching this. Like, I kind of feel like throwing $10 notes at the screen right now for an underage stripper. But anyway, it's a shit film. I gave it half a star. I mean, I'll give everybody half a star because they at least got a movie made, but that's as far as it went. So there you go. Rant over. Mic drop. I feel better.
Well, going from cruelty to animals to absolutely loving animals.
There's a segue.
Also a really happy film, feel-good film rather than a feel-bad film.
Right.
Perfect time of year to watch A Meowy Christmas.
Yes, one that is definitely on my radar.
Is not, but I didn't want to wait till December to watch it. So I watched the Carousel films in January by Steve Radzinski.
Yep.
And finally thought, I need to, watch more. He's got a number of films. And so A Meowy Christmas is the first of a few that feature a talking cat.
Nice.
And a talking rat as well, who are the pets of a terrible detective. Terrible as in not very good.
Right.
Inept is the word I found, because I thought he's not a terrible person at all. He's just not good at his job.
Yep.
There's thieves going around breaking into people's houses, and besides just stealing stuff, they're also stealing Christmas presents. So they're like ruining lots of people's Christmases.
Those bastards.
So Wally, the detective, is like wanting to catch them, and just the absolute worst. But the cat is Ms. Whiskers and the rat is Chuck, and so they are there to save the day. And Ms. Whiskers likes to watch, is into conspiracy theories and things. So watches the channel of this guy who like yells at you all these conspiracy things, and so alien lizard people are coming, and so they need to like stop them. And so it turns into, there's a bit of like sort of Home Alone style antics in the house that the rat and the cat set up. While Wally is just, like his ultimate plan that he does while they're doing the Home Alone thing is pretty funny. I'm not going to spoil it, obviously, but he goes and does this thing that it's not a good idea, and so it's up to them to save. But awesome. It's so fun. Like, because we've seen Steve he's in the Carousel movies, or two of them, as Joe the pizza guy, who we just instantly thought was the most awesome person.
Yes, friend of the show, Steve Rudzinski, who of course I interacted with on Twitter. So yeah, he's definitely a friend of the show. Yeah,
I think you two would be best friends because you seem to have so much in common in your interests and filmmaking and all that stuff.
Yeah. No, every time I look at like his Instagram account or whatever, I'm just like, it feels like he is a guy that I've known for a long time, you know, with his love of DC and comic books and, you know, everything. Yeah.
And you guys seem to have, like, judging on... Like, I imagine that he, in real life, is a lot like these two characters I've seen in his movies, because they're kind of similar in their, like, energy and everything. And I don't know, but I feel like that's him in real life, just a bit exaggerated for film. And that's like you as well. Like, you have a lot of energy and, like, quite a happy person.
That is true.
Anyway, I just love watching him. There's lots of cat puns, lots of, like, silly jokes that are silly in, you know, the best way. I was giggling at stuff. And so, yeah, it was really fun. And I liked it. And I look forward to watching the sequels. I think there's one for Halloween. One for St. Patrick's Day, which I did think of on St. Patrick's Day. And there's one where Wally apparently goes to a different, like, space or time or dimension or something like that. So it goes off in that direction. I didn't want to read too much into the like synopsis of the later films, but I was looking on his store because he sells Blu-rays and DVDs of his movies, and there was one that said something about that he's got to try and fix a timeline or something.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah,
wow.
There's a bit of stuff going on, so I look forward to getting to that.
And for anybody who wants to watch that or any of Steve Rudzinski's other films, you can find them on Tubi.
Yeah, they're not all there, but
well, no, not all of them.
Quite a large number are. So I don't know how things get on Tubi if Steve did it himself, but if he did, then I thank him because you know they're. I mean, apart from trying to get things on streaming, we're in Australia, so even if they were streaming, they probably wouldn't be here because, you know...
Yeah, exactly.
To make it over here. Even huge films don't make it over here.
Yeah, that is true. But yes, so if you can watch it on Tubi, do that. Don't pirate his films because that's just ridiculous when Tubi is a free service. So there you go. Well, the next film that I've got to talk about is one that we both watched, and we should maybe leave that till last because
I have one more besides that one.
Oh, okay, go for it.
So a bit of background briefly. I started watching The White Lotus last week, and I got pretty hooked. I actually started the last episode of season 1 earlier while I was having dinner, so can't wait to get back and finish that. But that's set at a resort in Hawaii called The White Lotus.
Right.
So then I was like, oh, I kind of feel like I'm in the mood for watching some other like beach resort set movies, but light-hearted comedy movies.
Yep.
And so I put the call out to you and Nobbins online.
There's the first mention of his name. I've been trying I thought I'll get through this episode without mentioning him or that director that I quite frequently talk about, but there we go. Meowy is out of the bag, so...
Yeah.
No, what was the cat's name? Miss Whiskers, not Meowy. Anyway, yeah. So, there you go. Nobbins, congratulations, sir.
So, he mentioned Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar. Which kind of completely passed me by. Apparently that was meant to come out theatrically, but in 2020, so that didn't happen, and it just came out like on demand the next year or something. So maybe that's why I didn't really hear about it.
That have maybe been because of the pandemic, because I know...
Like, it was.
Because that was the year. Yeah. That ruined a lot of things.
Thought that was obvious when I said 2020.
Well, okay... Smart ass, go on.
So he just said it was really funny and him and his wife really enjoyed it. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a go. And what's the funniest thing is Jamie Dornan is in it. And I kind of, for the last number of years, have thought of him as a really creepy guy purely because there's a TV show called The Fall, which I think started in 2016 or something. There's three
Right.
seasons, and he is so creepy in that, and but so good at being creepy that I'm just like, you're too creepy. And I haven't really seen him in much else, but whenever I see pictures of him or anything, I'm just like, ugh, creepy.
Well, it was creepy in 50 Shades as well, of course.
Oh, I haven't seen those films.
Trust me, he's creepy in those
Yeah, well, I
films.
can imagine that he is based on what I know of the
Yeah.
story. This movie completely fixed me of thinking he was creepy
Right.
because he is the opposite here.
Okay.
He's funny and he sings. And yeah, because this movie, apart from being just a fun comedy, there's even a couple of musical numbers,
Okay, so what's it about?
which was unexpected. So, Barb and Star are middle-aged women, or not middle-aged. They say they're in their 40s, so not, we'll just say not middle-aged, but they're just kind of lead, not the most exciting lives. And they meet one of their friends who just went to Vista Del Mar and had the best time, and so they decide that they're gonna go there to this hotel. And at the same time, there's a supervillain, this woman, who is created these, or made a scientist create mosquitoes that will bite people and will make everyone die.
Oh my god, I
Because
didn't
of this.
realize the movie went on that sort of angle.
Yeah, neither did I until it
Yeah,
started.
wow,
And so
okay.
he's in love with the woman and is her like lackey. So she sends him to Vista Del Mar to, kind of put the plan in motion and all of that. So that's why he's there. And then he meets Barb and Star and sort of
Right.
goes on from there.
Wow.
And Richard Cheese turned up playing in the hotel bar. And so I know that from our poker games, you introduced me to his music, and
I'm a
now
huge fan.
I got to see him
Yeah.
in that.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, that sounds like everything I need to be interested in this film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really fun and funny, and yeah. I gave that one 4.5 stars, and I feel like, I try, like I said before, 5 stars are special, so I don't often give them on the first watch unless it completely blows me away, like Prisoners.
Yeah, right.
So, but yeah, I feel like it might increase. I feel like this could be a good double feature with Palm Springs because they just kind of have that same vibe of just fun and happiness, and I guess it's,
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
weather, got that summery kind of feel, and yeah, they're both.
Now, this definitely sounds like a movie that I need to watch, so...
It's definitely like a sort of quirky sense of humor, so it's a bit different kind of humor. So I guess if you've got to be on the right wavelength to go with it. And it's silly, obviously, with that villain story and the way that the villain is.
It's actually
But,
funny
yeah, it's
that
fun.
you say that because the highest rated review on Letterboxd says Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar isn't a movie, it's a wavelength.
Yeah.
That's the first line anyway. But yeah, no, look,
Yeah.
I love...
So it took me by surprise. I was expecting a much more kind of normal movie. And yeah, like I said, the villain thing comes in like right at the beginning. And so I was like, oh, it's this kind of movie. But
Right. No, I'm a huge fan of Kristen Wiig. I think she's one of the funniest women alive. So, yeah.
well, I highly recommend you can watch her and Richard Cheese. He's not in it much, but he pops up a few times to do some brief singing.
I do
things.
love me some Dick Cheese. So yeah, I see that's playing on Stan over here. So yep, that's all I need to know.
And the second musical number, which is a Jamie Dornan solo thing, hilarious. And what's really funny is I was reading through reviews and someone said that it reminded them of Zac Efron singing Bet on It in the High School Musical movies,
Oh, okay.
which is really funny because when I watched it, I thought the same thing.
Oh,
It's
right.
it just is that for anyone who's seen those movies, then yeah, it kind of had that vibe, which was, and the lyrics and everything, it was just absolutely hilarious. So
Right.
yeah, very fun.
Cool. I'm gonna shuffle my order of films that I've watched because the next one on my list is one that I want to save that till last. it's that whole saving the best to last. You know which film I mean.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump in with a film that I watched last night. Because for those of you who didn't hear the last episode, Frankie and we've had a bit of a discussion about the movie Life, which came out in 2017, which has Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal and Hiroyuki Sanada from Ring and Rebecca Ferguson, and like, oh my god, so many amazing people in the cast. And I reviewed it when it first came out because my YouTube channel was sort of in its infancy, kind of, and so I was just seeing absolutely everything, and I did not like it. I gave it a 2 out of 10 and shook my fist at it and said, damn you, movie, you should have done better. And I just always thought, okay, so yeah, I clearly didn't like it. And so then Frankie watched or rewatched recently?
Rewatched. I saw it at the cinema when
That's
it came
right,
out.
yeah. And you're like, dude, come on, what the fuck? Like, you're an idiot. You don't know how to review movies. You are completely wrong. Christopher Nolan is God, etc. Anyway.
I did not say 2 of those statements.
Yeah, okay, I might have exaggerated.
Definitely did not say Christopher Nolan is God.
Yeah, true. Anyway, so I thought to myself, look, okay, I'm one of these people that I want to love every film that I see. I really do. I want to give every film 5 stars. Wouldn't that be just so great if we could do that? And I thought, look, maybe I had an off day. I don't know. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to give Life a rewatch. And so I sat down with it last night and I rewatched it. And yes, past me was definitely wrong in giving it 2 out of 10 because that was a bit extreme. But that being said, I kind of agreed with past me on a lot of things that I said. And this is just for me personally. It just, it didn't do it for me. I didn't feel any tension. I kind of felt a little bored by the third act, I got to admit. I didn't find the creature that scary. It was intimidating, and I like that it was unique and it did some cool things, like, with the dude's hand, like, just crushing every single bone. Like, that was really cool. But, yeah, I just kind of felt like they could just, I don't know, befriend the thing and just live harmoniously with it. It just, I don't know, maybe it was too pretty or something. I don't know. And surprisingly, last night when I watched it, because the twist ending, I actually sat there thinking to myself, oh my god, wow, that was so clever. I didn't see that coming. And then I watched my own review afterwards where 2017 me was like, oh my god, that ending was so predictable. I saw it coming a mile away. And I'm like, what the hell, 2017 me? But anyway, I don't know. That was kind of strange. I was very tired when I watched it last night. It was after 1 a.m. by the time I finished it.
I can't say. I know it took me by surprise in the cinema when I saw it, but I remembered the ending when I watched it again. So
right.
I knew what was coming.
Yeah, so look, I mean, I definitely think 2 out of 10 was harsh because I think of other movies that I gave that sort of score to. Things like Independence Day Resurgence or whatever the hell that crap was called, and that was just a bad film. Life was, I mean, on Letterboxd I've given it 2.5. Well,
I take that as a win that you upgraded to average.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I gave it the same score that I gave Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. It was just this meh kind of movie that, I didn't want to turn it off at any point, but yeah, it was just very average for me. So, but I tried at least. At least I wasn't just like, nope, that movie is shit. I'm never watching it again. That is it. Final. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, the last film I have on my list is one we both watched, which is Roadhouse.
Oh, yes, it is Roadhouse. Wow.
Now, I know a lot of people were not happy about this, but I only watched the original Roadhouse last year and not overly a fan, so I have no special attachment that made me care about it being remade. And I feel like they did a good job at changing things. Like I liked the changed setting,
Oh, yes.
and I liked the character.
Mm.
But the only thing I really liked in the original film that, well, I mean, you wouldn't get it in the new one; it wouldn't be the same. But Sam Elliott in the original,
Yeah, that's true. He was really,
was
really.
coolest
But
character.
he's great in absolutely everything that he's in. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, look, I'm the same. I only saw it for the first time last year because Kylie had it on her list of movies that she wanted to show me, which I hadn't seen, and we watched it. And yeah, I thought it was fine. I thought it was a little overrated because, ever since it came out in the 80s, so many people for decades have been like, oh my God, what do you mean you haven't seen Roadhouse? It's a classic.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
why I watched
wow,
it
okay.
because it's a classic people talk about. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I'll check out what it is.
So yeah, look, I thought it was fine. Whereas, yeah, this remake slash reimagining slash whatever the heck you want to call it, I loved it. Both Kylie and I were just sitting there, just absolutely engrossed in this film, wishing it was on a cinema screen, because who the hell signed off on that idea to stream it instead of putting it on the big screen? That is just ridiculous. But yeah, there was so many things that I loved more than the original. Like you said, the setting was so much more interesting. And it looked great, like the visuals. There were so many shots that it was just like, wow, that's so pretty. But yeah, I thought Jake Gyllenhaal did a better service to the character than Patrick Swayze did. He added more layers to it. He was a lot funnier. I love that he was just in control of every situation. He was so freaking cool. Like when the dude is on the boat aiming a shotgun at him, and he just I can't remember the dialogue that was said, but Dalton, played by Gyllenhaal, was kind of distracting him a little bit so he could, and you could just see in his brain he's working out the angles, like how do I get the gun from the guy and everything, and I just, that stuff is just so clever. I thought all the action sequences.
So a really good opening to the character as well, where there's like the cage fighting scene. Was it cage? Or anyway, fighting going on, and
UFC.
Gyllenhaal walks in with his hood on, and he's like the next contender for the guy who's winning everything. And then he sits down in the inside and starts getting ready, and then he pulls his hood down and the other guy sees him and he's like, no, not fighting that, just take the money, get out, not doing it.
I know.
And you're like, oh, what's the reaction? Why is
he
he like that? He's got a reputation.
Exactly. I'm sitting there, I'm just thinking to myself, this is freaking great writing. You don't need a lot of dialogue and flashbacks and all this sort of stuff to know everything you need to know about that character. Well, on the surface, because of course later on you find out more. But I even said to Kylie, this is brilliant. That, okay, yep, this guy is an absolute, shit hot fighter who has most likely won, tons of matches and stuff. But there's something dangerous about him that, Post Malone just doesn't want to have anything to do with. And yeah, I thought that was brilliantly done. And yeah, all the action sequences I thought were so much fun. I know they're getting a hell of a lot of flack because everyone's like, ooh, they're using CG and stuff in them. So what? Like, I don't mind CG if it enhances a scene, if it makes something better, then absolutely.
I mean, I do not care. So when I was watching those scenes, I don't even know what was CGI in them. I wasn't looking. I was just thinking about what was happening. So I don't know. That's just me. I don't care.
Oh no, it's not just you. I'm right there with you. Like, okay, so the scene, where he's walking on the bridge and the pickup truck speeds towards him and almost kills him and stuff. Like, that scene had Kylie and I jumping out of our seats so much that we had to rewind it and watch it again. And I'm thinking to myself, the only way they could have done that is with a CGI pickup truck. But who cares?
Yeah.
Like, it it got the job done, like
That's the thing. It's movies, they're fiction, so anything you can do to tell the
yeah.
story.
If it was crap CG, that would be a different thing. If it was like a
Yeah.
PlayStation 2 era pickup truck that just looked so bad. But watching that shot again, it actually got me thinking, how did they do that? Because, to keep Jake Gyllenhaal safe. So yeah, that was the only way I could figure that they did that. But yeah, but all the characters were so amazing. I know we've talked about the villains, you and me.
we have the same favorite bad guy.
Yeah, whatever his name was, I don't know.
I don't know.
But one of the random henchmen who was just one of the most uniquely written bad guys. He, everyone is so big and tough and wants to take down Dalton, and they'll step up to fight, whereas this guy's just like, no, I don't really want to fight. Like, look, if you need information, I'll give it to you. It's fine. Hey, do you need me to wash
Dalton's
your car
like,
or something?
how close is the hospital? And everyone's just like doing whatever. And then this guy's like, oh, it's about 20 minutes away. Yeah. It's like he's so polite. He has to answer the questions.
Exactly. I know. I mean, that's great. There was just so much fun in this film. And Conor McGregor, who I had no idea who he was. I knew that everyone was talking about him, and I had to get Kylie to explain to me that he's a UFC fighter and stuff.
I can't believe you didn't know that. I don't care about fighting, but I've still just heard about him just in general.
I'd heard of the name before, but I didn't know who he was. Yeah, he stole every single scene he was in, whether he was butt naked or wearing purple satin pants or just oh my god, he was so brilliant.
He reminded me of Jason Momoa in Fast X, where it was just like a really sort of over the top villain that just was kind of insane but just wanted to have a good time and whatever, and just
and that made him scary. Character. Like he was unpredictable. He was the kind of guy that would kill his own henchmen or whatever just for the sake of it or anything like that. Like, he was a great villain.
I was really surprised by his voice though. When he started talking, I just did not expect him to sound like that.
Okay, yep.
Just because he's like big tough fighter guy and did not have that. I just expected this really like sort of deep tough guy voice.
Yep.
And didn't get it.
It was so much fun. The only thing that kind of held it back for me a little bit was so Daniela Melchior's character Ellie. Actually, maybe I should put her on keyboards in my band. No, never mind. I just felt the romance between her and Dalton just came out of nowhere, and it felt very forced. Like, just...
Well, it probably was because, that's just a thing that they want you to have in movies these days.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean it works, though.
No, but that's what I mean. Like, studios are like, there has to be romance.
Yeah. Look, it's not the romance aspect that I'm against. I mean, who the hell wouldn't fall for her?
Well, yeah, but I just mean they probably just had to sort of fit it in, so they didn't really have room for it.
So that I just felt, it was a little bit forced. And not only that, like, I don't know, at the end of the day, even though it was a remake, of course, of another film and everything, I know that, but...
I mean, I guess that scene where they go out together kind of set up a bit of info for a later scene.
Yeah, it didn't feel like romance to me, though. Like, I don't know.
No, but I mean, I liked it, though, because it was kind of cool, just for the prettiness of it, to go sit out in the ocean in deck chairs.
Oh, yeah.
That's like an interesting thing to do. But it was weird.
Yeah, and even though, like, I know it's a remake and everything, but I don't know. Watching it was just kind of like, okay, like, overall, you sort of feel like you've seen the film done so many times before and stuff. But that being said, the way that they presented it was so much fun in such a unique way. I'm so glad that Doug Liman directed it because, he's done amazing films like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Edge of Tomorrow, Born Identity, Swingers Go. I mean, it's from the director of Go.
Ah.
You can't go wrong there. He's actually done a lot of really great films. Oh, The Wall. He did that one as well.
That's actually interesting because I know a lot of people had issues with the camera angles and stuff and the editing of the fights and all of that. And I'm like, it's kind of interesting now you say he directed Go because that had this, high energy kind of stuff going on. So, yeah. And that's an amazing film.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, look, I was really surprised by Roadhouse 2024. Like I said, I deeply regret that I didn't get to see it on the big screen. I do hope that a Blu-ray release happens for that film because, I know it's streaming, but I want to hold it in my hands. I loved it so much.
I feel like it's quite likely. I mean, it's an Amazon film, so it's not like they seem to get releases and things, not like Disney where who knows.
Well, even then we wouldn't get a release over here if it was Disney.
So one thing I like about having a 4K TV and player is that I can import stuff from the US because Disney, they've released 4Ks for whatever the things were that they just recently released. So I could get them because 4K has no regions, which makes me very happy since there's so many things that aren't available here now that I can, I order in a lot from the UK because for Blu-rays they're the same region as us, but 4K means I can order in from the US as well.
I tell you what, that is actually a selling point that would make me switch to 4K down the track, but but anyway, no, I'm glad that we both agreed on Roadhouse, so...
Yeah, I was surprised. I think because I didn't really care about the original, I wasn't really interested in this. And if it wasn't Jake Gyllenhaal, I don't know if I would have bothered.
Yeah.
Or I might have if you'd watched it and said it was really good.
Yeah.
I probably would have checked it out. But it was Jake Gyllenhaal that made me watch it the weekend it came out.
Was that the last one on your list of films?
Yeah.
All right, well...
Yeah, you can talk about the one that I was unable to go to because my local cinema decided not to bother.
Here we go. All right. Late Night with the Devil. Oh my fucking god. I saw that film, what was it, on the 29th, a few days ago, and I have not stopped thinking about it every single day since. It was a film I was very excited about because the trailers looked absolutely incredible. David Dalmatian plays a 70s talk show. Shut up, I'm calling him that. A 70s talk show host whose ratings are slipping. He wants to catch up with Johnny Carson and be one of the bigwigs. And so on the night of Halloween in 1977, he invites on his show a range of guests, but one of them is a woman with this young girl, a teenage girl, who is supposedly possessed by something evil. And as we've seen from the trailer, shit happens. What I loved about the trailers for this film is that they don't give you that much information because there is a lot more about the story of this film. And here we go. I'll tell you all about it. No, just kidding. I went to book tickets for it because it was showing at a very local cinema to me, a Dendy cinema. And I left it too late because I looked and the thing was, aside from the front row, it was booked out. And my heart sank because I was so looking forward to this film. But then I found a more mainstream cinema that was actually showing it, and even though it was a little bit of a drive, I was like, I don't care, we're going. So we went and saw this thing, and oh man, it is just one of the best horror films I've seen in maybe ever.
Wow.
I know. Look, I don't want to say too much about this film. The way it is presented, what you've seen in the trailers is right. It looks like it is a thing from the 70s. It is so authentically made. David Dalmatian just nailed the role. He was utterly perfect everybody in this film was absolutely perfect.
That's happy to hear because I did read that he said in interviews that he was worried about being good enough to do it
Oh my
and
god.
being able to play that character.
Oh, he was amazing. And I know you kind of think like, okay, well, how hard can it be playing a talk show host? But no, there is a lot more that goes on with his character. There's a lot to it. That's all I'll say. I've got to hand it to Ingrid Torelli, the 18-year-old actress who played Lily, the possessed girl. Fuck me. She is so creepy. And I am not talking about the bits where she's all, possessed and stuff. Just when they first bring her out and sit her down, I think you see some of it in the trailer. Like, she's just sort of sitting there and her head's just turned to the side and she's just grinning into the camera. Like, oh, look at me, I'm on TV, but the way she's just sitting there staring into your soul, like it's unnerving. It is so brilliantly done. I mean, yeah, the casting for this whole film was extraordinary. Every single character was amazing. The production design, like when you look at each audience member who's sitting in the crowd, like everyone looks like they're from the 70s, the costumes, the hair, the facial hair designs, like, just everything looks so 70s. There was one very minor gripe that I had, but it's one of those things that it's so minor, it didn't stop me from giving it 5 stars, 10 out of 10, 100%, whatever you want. It was designed in a way that during each segment break, you're sort of taken backstage to... it's done to give you, the audience, more information, and the way that they do it is because it's supposed to be like a found footage kind of a thing.
Yeah, it aired on TV, and it's the footage of that.
But when they take you backstage, when Dalmatian's talking to people and stuff like that, like, it's done like a traditional movie, with like a 2-camera setup and stuff like that. And there's no acknowledgement that there is someone backstage filming behind the scenes stuff or anything like that. Is it meant to be that? You don't know. That's the thing.
It sounds to me like it's mixed.
It's
sort of the what was aired on TV, but then they've inserted bits. So I mean, that, I don't know. Yeah, no, that doesn't sound weird to me that it would swap.
Okay, maybe it's hard to describe. No, it is done like that. Like, they do explain at the start of the film that, what you're about to see is the unaired broadcast with exclusive behind-the-scenes footage. But, if it was just kind of like a handheld camera and, even all they would have had to do is just have, Dalmatian's character sort of, acknowledge that he's being filmed or something like that. Like, that would have added to the authenticity, but... it's just done like a traditional movie where characters are talking, and it didn't blend well with the supposedly found footage kind of concept. That being said, though, I mean, it's a very minor gripe, like, because the information that it gives you in between those segments is essential stuff every single time. But it's not a scary film by any means, but it is one of those horror films that builds tension, and a lot of wow moments at the end. Like, there's a lot of reviews and things on Letterboxd and stuff saying, where people are saying the ending is mind-blowing. It really is. It is incredible. I loved the ending. And that's all I'm going to say about it. But seriously...
Well, I think the official release date here is the 11th of April or something. I think that's when Hoyts have it on their thing.
It could be. That's a Thursday.
I know that it's coming to Shudder in April, apparently. So I kind of don't know I don't know what the cinema sessions are going to be. My local cinema doesn't really like horror, and a lot of the times they'll have one screening per day at like 8:30 at night or something, and I'm not going to do that because I don't have a car and I don't drive, so
look, that being
and
said,
I don't like going out that late.
Look, you know what, in all honesty,
but you're probably going to say what I'm going to say, but then being the type of movie that it is,
There it is.
then I just think, well, if I watch it on home, then I'm watching it on TV, and that kind
You
of
know
adds. It's
what?
like when I watched Host, I watched it on my laptop
Yep.
just to add to the
Yep.
experience, and that was super creepy. So I'm very
I
glad I did that.
can confirm, and
Even
this
though
is
my TV is nothing like a 70s TV,
I
but
can
it's still watching TV.
I can confirm, and this is something that Kylie and I discussed on the drive home. That yeah, look, I mean, I will always say, nearly every movie is better in a cinema. With the great sound and the audience and all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, exactly what you said. Being that this is supposed to be a television broadcast, I think it's going to do really well, on a home TV system. And I think that's kind of a genius move on their behalf as well, because, yeah, it's not going to lose anything, being seen at home on TV. The only movie I ever thought didn't belong on a big screen was The Blair Witch Project, because I first saw that on a bootleg tape that got returned to a friend's video store that he was working at. He got this blank tape in a case and chucked it on to have a look at what was on it, and it was the Blair Witch Project before it actually came to Australia. And a big group of us watched it that night at a friend's place, and I was absolutely wowed. And then I went to see it in the cinemas, and I just sort of felt, no, I don't know, it doesn't belong on a cinema screen. And so, yeah, I mean, it could be the same with late night. I don't know. Maybe it is better at home.
But it's good it went to cinemas because,
Yeah.
at least in the States, it was breaking records for the film company. So, it's really good that they've made so much money from that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, look, that film is nothing short of a phenomenon. I loved every single second of that film. I am desperate to see it again.
Well, I'm happy just to see it because I know this was doing the rounds here, and it was at the Melbourne Film Festival last year, and I think it might have done Brisbane. I think it was at both.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's when I first heard about it, and I wanted to see it, and so I've been waiting and waiting for it to get its release.
I know. I felt so bad that you couldn't go that night that it was
yeah.
on. And
yeah,
I almost wanted to say, oh, nah, it wasn't that great, just to make you feel better.
It doesn't matter. I
You'll
mean,
see
knowing that it's going to be available so quickly,
Yeah.
and it's not like I have to wait months and months for it
Exactly.
to turn up or anything.
Yeah. And it's not like Mr. Bungle, where it was a show that is, a once only thing that, yeah. So, no, get excited because, yeah, I genuinely think you are going to love this film. Maybe even as much as I did. I don't know.
Hopefully.
But I can guarantee it's a good time. And speaking of it's a good time, Frankie now has her own merch line available because, she's such a podcast superstar. I don't know how you're going to find it with me telling you about it, but yeah, there's a It's a Good Time series of merch. You can get it on t-shirts, on cups, on COVID masks, on coasters, which look amazing, wall clocks. You can get anything you want in my Redbubble store. So if you go to our Twitter account, actually, there is a post there where there's a link to it. I'll probably put it on the Facebook page as well. You can, of course, find us on the socials at Dan_and_Frankie. If you Google that, you are going to find us. I guarantee it. And yeah, if you are one of those people that sits there and goes, man, that Frankie, she's always having such a good time. Well, you can too now with a fresh t-shirt or coaster or pet blanket or whatever. I don't know. But yes, go check it out. They're amazing. All right, well, since we're done talking about our fortnight of movies, what do you say we jump into the official third best film ever made? Well, okay, according to my scale. And let's go and talk about The Crow. Okay, so yeah, like I said, this is a very, very, very special film for me because back in 1994 when it came out, I had just started working in a cinema, and this film came out, and I thought, oh yeah, it looks looks pretty cool. Little did I know that that film was going to affect me so goddamn deeply. And not only because of the whole Brandon Lee thing, which obviously adds a layer to that film's atmosphere. You can't deny that. But it's, to me, if anyone was ever after an instance of how tone affects a film and how important it is to keep the tone balanced through your film, I think that is one of the most perfect examples ever committed to film. And yeah, in my top 10 favorite movies of all time, it sits at number 3. So it must be good. How do you feel about The Crow?
Yeah, I've always liked it. I first saw it in the 90s. I don't remember if that was one I saw at the cinema or saw later.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, definitely, it's one I had a VHS box set of the first two films. I had a big poster on my wall. I had a postcard. So it's very, the whole sort of gothness of it
Mm-hmm.
was my style. The music was my style. Good, cool soundtrack.
Oh
So
yeah, let's get into that later. There's a lot to talk about there.
yeah, so I
Yeah.
really like it.
Oh yeah. So for those of you who don't know what the hell this film is about, and where have you been? It's based on a comic book series by James O'Barr, who wrote the book as a catharsis because his fiancee was killed in a car accident, I believe it was, and so he wrote this as a way to help himself. And it's a story of a rock musician named Eric Draven who, on the night before Halloween, which is called Devil's Night, he and his fiancee Shelley Webster, their apartment is broken into by a gang, and she's raped and murdered, and he's murdered. And a year later, a crow comes along and taps on his gravestone with its beak, and he arises from the dead as a spirit of vengeance and goes after all of the people who did these hideous crimes. But of course, there is a chief bad guy who goes by the name of Top Dollar, played by Michael Wincott, with one of the most incredible voices in the history of cinema. And
I also loved his style because he just
yeah,
looked like he was a massive fan of Anne Rice's Vampire
yeah,
Chronicles.
yeah,
So he's
true.
just got this really nice long hair and a three-piece suit and
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Yep.
Can see why he's called Top Dollar.
And so Top Dollar's half sister, Micah, who is this weird chick who is sleeping with him and stuff. It's all very creepy. She learns about the crow's power and wants that power, and so they wind up kidnapping this young girl named Sarah, who was a friend of Eric and Shelley. And so even though Eric's mission is done, he sort of realizes what's going on there. So it's not over until, evil is vanquished once and for all. And yeah, like I said, just from the opening shot, just that fly over the city where it's kind of dark and there's fires, and that haunting score by Graham Revell. From that moment you feel something. It just has this sense of melancholy and sadness and hope, and there's so many emotions that film gives me. I think the look of everything is just extraordinary. It's set in Detroit, but it's never really sort of emphasized there. So kind of could be any grungy looking city. But Eric Draven's look, especially towards the end, where he's just got black duct tape to cover up the bullet holes and everything. He just looks like a guitarist from Nine Inch Nails or something. He just that look is iconic. I think the dialogue is mesmerizing. It's poetic in so many ways.
And a bit cheesy in some places, which I had forgotten.
Okay.
I guess, I don't know.
What are some examples?
when he's in the apartment
Yep.
talking to the cop,
Yep.
and it was all like stuff about Shelley that was he thought was trivial things,
Mm.
but nothing's trivial or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I don't know. It just and the way he appears when what's the girl Sarah is
So.
in the loft
Mm-hmm.
and she's talking to him and being like, I know you're here and all this. And
Mm.
then he eventually turns up and it's like he's at the window and the
Mm.
lighting changes and it's like this warm light
Mm.
coming in while he talks to her. It's just kind of a little bit cheesy.
Yeah, but it's a movie where someone comes back from the dead. I mean, like it's
Yeah.
artistic.
I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, I
Yeah.
watch Hallmark films. I'm
Yeah.
all for cheesy stuff. But I just forgot that, well, it just, yeah, it's for
Oh.
the type of film it is. I just didn't
See,
expect such a cheesy
I
moment.
didn't find any of that cheesy. I thought the line about, trivial things, it's poignant and true. It's
Well, yeah, but yeah.
yeah. No, that's fair
Just, that's
enough.
the way it was. I just had to think, oh, that's a bit cheesy.
Yeah, all right. No, that's fair enough. Oh, look, I mean, with the whole hullabaloo about the Crow remake that's coming out, and I've been seeing a lot of things online where people are saying, like, oh yeah, the Crow, oh yeah, I remember that, it wasn't bad and stuff, and it just blows my mind because of how much that film means to me. But then I realize, yes, of course, not everybody is going to treat the movie the same way as I do. We all have
Well,
our favorites.
that's the whole thing of the whole style and look of the film and the
Yeah.
music and everything. If that's not your bag, then
Oh,
you're just
absolutely.
gonna struggle because
Yeah, yeah.
the whole film is like that.
No, I get that, which is kind of weird for
Yeah.
me because I am not like a dark gothic sort of a person, and so I don't know. There's something about it. Like I said, it's just to me, it is perfection. The way that from beginning, and I'm talking the opening shot to the very last shot, from beginning to end, it has a consistent tone the whole way through. And yeah, so apart from the score by Graham Revell, which I just love that album, it's so weird and unique. It is not like any other film music I'd ever heard before. But the actual soundtrack album was just one of the best albums that ever came out of the 90s.
I just get chills every time the beginning of the Cure song, which is very early on.
Oh,
As soon as
yeah.
I hear, because it's kind of got that the weird sounds at the
Yep.
beginning before it starts properly, and every
Hmm.
time I hear that, I'm just like, oh, that song.
Oh, I know. That song was just that. Yeah, I mean, that and the film are just synonymous with each other.
Hmm.
But also the Nine Inch Nails song, like
Yeah,
where he's
they
running
keep calling
across the
me.
rooftops and stuff. But yeah, it was like, um, uh, what else? The Pantera, My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult. There was like so many. Oh, Rage Against the Machine was on it. There was Helmet. There's so many freaking amazing '90s bands. It is just, I think that soundtrack album just captures that moment of the '90s. It's yeah, so cool to listen to.
And random mention, which I know you don't like the sequel, but that
Yeah,
also had an amazing soundtrack, and I actually listened to
yeah.
that way more than this one. So this one, like,
Mm,
I know the Cure and Nine Inch Nails songs really well, of course, because they're
mm,
amazing, but not so much the other ones. Whereas the soundtrack for the second film, I listened to a
mm.
lot more.
Yeah, I think my personal musical taste probably lay more in that sort of 1994 era because the second one, what year did the second one come out? That was that?
96?
Oh, it was only 2 years later, was it?
Um, yeah,
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought it was later than that. I can't really remember what was on
maybe you're
the
thinking of the third one.
soundtrack.
I'm just looking it up. It's got
Yeah.
Hole singing Gold Dust Woman, PJ Harvey, Seven Mary 3, Iggy Pop, I Want to Be Your Dog,
Ah.
Bush, White Zombie, Linda
Oh,
Perry,
okay.
Korn,
I
Filter,
thought I remembered Corn being on, it, and that's why I actually thought it was later.
Deftones.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll probably, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll give that second film a go because I remember at the time, like, I was so obsessed with The Crow,
That's probably why you had issues maybe with the second one.
Well, it was.
Well, I'm saying that coming from a place of I really liked it when I watched it, but I haven't seen it since the 90s and I don't remember enough to know if I would still be into it now as like, you
Yeah,
know,
but no,
at this age.
because I wound up collecting the comic books. I've got a complete set of trading cards. I also had a poster in my room. Both sound like the score and the soundtrack on CD. I had so much stuff. I even had ordered from the US like this super duper Region 1 DVD box set thing and stuff that I had trouble playing because, yeah, like when DVDs came out, it was really difficult playing overseas stuff.
Yeah.
But then, so the cinema that I was working at, we used to do a lot of costume promotions. And when I heard there was a sequel coming out for The Crow, I was like, oh, guys, I've got a black trench coat. Can I like go around and like do a costume promo? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. I was like, oh my God, this is the best day ever. I get to be Eric Draven. So the day that the movie came out, I got all dressed up, did the whole face paint, wore all black and everything, like went around the shopping center, like handing out flyers, advertising the movie. And oh man, I was like, people were asking me like, oh, have you seen it? Is it good? I was like, oh, I don't know, but it's going to be amazing. And then I went back to work, like got the makeup off, went and got changed and everything, went and sat down for a session and watched the film. And I just wanted to go back to every person that I had handed a flyer to and go, you know what? Yeah, maybe go see something else. Because I did not like the sequel. But that is another movie that I might watch again. I might give it another shot.
Same with the third one. I have that on DVD,
Yeah.
but I haven't watched it for a really long time.
I don't even know if I've seen the third one. So that was The Crow Salvation. Then there was The Crow Wicked Prayer, and there was a TV series that actually had Mark Dacascos in it, who I actually really like as an actor. I think I watched maybe the first episode of that. I don't know. But
Yeah, the third one has Kirsten Dunst in it.
yeah, I'm actually not a really big fan of hers. So,
Well, I actually got it originally, I think, because of Eric Mabius, because I think I'd seen him in some random movie, and then I was like, oh, he's in a Crow movie.
yeah, right. Um,
Although Interview with the Vampire kind of made me a Kirsten Dunst fan.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, so when the time came when somebody said to me for my YouTube channel, oh, you should do like a top 10 of your favorite movies of all time, and I was like, oh, that's a good idea. And I sat down and yeah, I knew because Seven and The Crow are like my two favorite 90s films, but Seven beat it just a little bit because that film kind of the way it rattles me more, I think, made it a little higher on my list. But it's not by much though. So yeah, that is just how special The Crow is to me, and always will be.
I didn't know they made one in 2005.
Oh, was that the one I mentioned
Wicked
before?
Prayer?
Wicked Prayer, yeah.
I'm just looking at. I'm like Edward Furlong, Tara Reid.
Yeah,
Has 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
does it?
It's only got 9 reviews.
Oh yeah, but still,
audience score is 35%.
Ooh, yeah, no. See, that's what I mean. Should have left it at the first one, if you ask me. But I may be a little bit biased. Yeah, but...
Yeah, I read a couple of novels as well.
Okay, right. Yeah, no, I've not read them.
Because Poppy Z. Bright wrote one, I think. And then I think I have 1 or 2 other ones because I think it was like different authors telling a story.
Yeah, right.
So I think I have 2 or 3 of them. I should have checked my bookshelf before this.
Yeah, you should have. Jeez, what are you doing, lady? I think the first comic I've got, I don't think it was one of the original 1989 presses. I think it might have been a reprint, and I think I'm pretty sure I had it in like a trade paperback, so it was like a whole bunch of volumes in one issue. But they then released more Crow comics through the 90s, of course. once the film became a big thing. And that was around the time that I befriended a guy who ran a comic book store. And so, yeah, I have a lot of Crow comics in my collection. But, that's, I think, all I've got to say about that. I love it. It'll always be one of my most favourite films of all time. And I can't wait to show it to my kidlets.
You'll be waiting a little while for that.
Well, yeah, 3 years, 4 years, maybe. Like, I don't know. It's fine. They'll love it. Yeah. All right. So that was our main homework movie that we had for this week. So the next one on the list was one that I wound up picking from the choices you gave me. And what film is that?
Crazy Stupid Love.
Right, and what's that about?
So this is a film that's very much an ensemble cast, and I'm not overly into it, but a couple of the stories are so good that's why I was like, Dan has to see it just for the good parts. Mm-hmm. So it's mainly following Steve Carell is playing a guy called Cal Weaver who his wife's just asked for a divorce. Mm-hmm. And so he's moved out and he's moping at a bar. And in this bar, there's Ryan Gosling, who is like the ladies' man who can talk to any woman and she'll go home with him. And so he's there. Then you're also following Emma Stone, who is Hannah. Mm-hmm. And she has a boring boyfriend that her best friend is trying to, get her to be more exciting. Mm-hmm. And she's in the bar one night with her friend and Ryan Gosling comes over and does his thing and she's just kind of laughing and is like, no, I'm leaving. And so he's all into her. And then you're also following the 13-year-old son of Cal Weaver, who's going through having a crush on his babysitter. Mm-hmm. And the babysitter has a crush on Cal. And she's 17.
Yep.
And is that everyone?
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, basically that was
the main ones, and then there's some
and Kevin Bacon's thrown in
extra
there as
people.
well.
Yeah, he's the wife had an affair with Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
David Lindhagen.
That's a lot going on. Did you mention Julianne Moore? Because
Julianne Moore is the wife.
Yeah, she's the wife. Because that's possibly a good thing to mention, coming into the film we're talking after this. But anyway, so when I was a bit surprised that you told me to watch this film, being that, you gave it 2.5 stars on Letterboxd and...
Yeah, but I explained that in my review that it's 5 stars for every moment that Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling are on screen together. And that, plus a scene at the end... I thought it was worth you watching.
Well, you've beaten me to it because, I was going to say it is crazy because you and I agree on a lot of things. Like our taste in film is scarily similar, and that has been one of the foundations of our friendship since day one. And so your review said 5 stars for all the scenes with Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling together. So funny, so cute. The rest, well, there's a few good things, some rather questionable things, and a lot of average. And I was like, okay, let's have a look. So I watched the film, and by the end of it, I was thinking to myself, I'd probably give 5 stars for all the scenes with Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling together. I mean, it was so funny, so cute. The rest, well, there's a few good things, some rather questionable things, and a lot of average. Wait a minute, where have I heard that? Oh my God, yeah. I don't know if you and I have ever... settled so scarily similarly on a film before, because I even just copied and pasted your review for my own Letterboxd one with a disclaimer, of course, but because I know exactly what you're talking about, questionable things and stuff like that, which let's get into that later in the sealed section probably, because it might be spoilerish, but yeah. I know that I know, etc. Look, I don't know. To me, the characters were very two-dimensional.
Should we maybe, I don't know if you have overview thoughts, but maybe we should sort of tackle it in sections of each character.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm happy to do that.
Um, to start with Cal,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of annoying.
Yeah, I agree. And again, it's very two dimensional. Like, I didn't really know that much about him, so why should I really care that much? Like, okay, his wife cheated on him and left him, but is that it? Like, is that the only thing that we've got to feel sorry for him? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, Ryan Gosling's a bit annoying in the beginning because
Yeah.
just kind of doing his thing, but I did like moments where he's like, because Cal is in the bar just talking out loud to anyone who will listen about
Hmm.
all his problems, and so what's Ryan Gosling's character? Jacob.
Yeah.
So Jacob hears him and decides he's going to help him out, and so he's gonna like give him a makeover
Mm.
and teach him how to get the ladies and stuff. And so I thought the scene was pretty amusing at the mall when
Mm.
they meet up at the mall. And I had read there's a lot of reviews that talk about how Ryan Gosling's eating the pizza.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking out for that this time, and it's like the way he's holding it,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of
Curled
curved
up.
in like a U shape,
Yeah.
and then he's got one of his fingers
Mm-hmm.
in the middle.
Yeah.
That's so weird. But also, I really loved his reaction when he asks Cal for the credit card, and
Yeah.
then you just hear the rip of the Velcro
Yeah,
board.
yeah, yeah. That was cool. But see, this is what I mean. Like, already there's more layers to Ryan Gosling's character because you're like,
Yeah,
okay, he's a womanizer, but why is he taking on Cal as like a protege sort of a thing? Like, what's going on in his mind? Like, I was already instantly more intrigued by him than Cal, who's just like, okay, wife left him, cool. So,
yeah,
um, so yeah, I actually that was one of the notes that I had. Aside from, I feel like I've seen this before. Ryan Gosling is the only interesting person, even though he's a stereotype. And I wrote that straight away, like as soon as we got to know his character. So yeah, no, I agree with that. I also, well, I mean, yeah, Julianne Moore as Emily, she was pretty one note as well, pretty
yeah.
two dimensional woman who had an affair with Kevin Bacon. That's it.
Mm.
Emma Stone as Hannah, I thought she was a bit more interesting because she was, yeah, she had that whole thing going on with her boyfriend, played by Josh Groban, who, she thought he was going to propose, and, there's that kind of dynamic, and she just, yeah, always seemed more interesting, so I
I
liked
think
her.
part of that is just because she's such a good actress, and
Yeah.
like the way she reacts to things and the faces she makes
Yeah,
when she's
yeah.
reacting to things is just really interesting.
Mm,
And I also love the scene where when Jacob hits on her and
mm,
she's not interested.
mm.
And I wrote down two things because of course I thought of you.
Oh.
When oh, I can't remember. Oh, I think she said that was a double negative. And then he's like, "You're a double negative."
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember that now.
And I was
Yeah.
like, that's something you'd say
Oh
with
my.
your "you're a" whatever was just
Yeah,
said.
that's very common. Yeah, no, that's right. I completely forgot about that. That rather tickled me. I also thought I kind of liked the thing with Marisa Tomei's character, Kate, who I'm not going to say too much about her character because that is a bit of a surprise in the film how that develops. But I didn't mind that storyline. I thought that was kind of fun.
Mm.
Yeah, especially. No, can't say that. Never mind. Let's just, yeah, look, that was interesting. Kevin Bacon was just completely kind of wasted in that role because anyone could have played that really.
Yeah.
And I was very happy to find out that the babysitter, Jessica, was not 17. She was of legal age because, yes, I was sitting there thinking to myself, damn, that's a fine looking woman, but no, I'll have to research that later. But yeah, apparently she was on, I don't know, America's Top Model or some bullshit show like that. I mean, some awesome reality show like that. Sorry, listeners. Yeah, maybe people out there who are like, hey, wait a minute, we love our reality shows. Yeah, no, those are great.
I used to watch America's Next Top Model all
Jesus.
the time. It's really fun because, you know, they give them makeovers and they get really upset because they, you know, one of them has to get their hair cut really short. I don't know. But also I like pretty things, so I like it when they go on their photo shoots and things. So
wow, there's a tangent for you. But yeah, look, so yeah, I mean, I guess those are the main characters to talk about. But I was disheartened that it took an hour and 5 minutes to finally get into the whole Ryan and Emma stuff. Cause
yeah, I know. I was sitting through that today, and I'm like, I'm just waiting for it because it's one of the best scenes, and then. Yeah, it took a long time to get there.
It did. I'm sitting
This
there.
movie felt really long, although it was 2 hours. It probably didn't need to be 2 hours. But
it just, for a whole hour and 5 minutes, I'm sitting there and I'm like, what the hell was Frankie talking about? Like, all the scenes, like, the scenes with Emma and Ryan so far haven't been that great because there's only been one, really, or two, I don't know. Yeah, so finally when I got there, I was like, okay. And yeah, my God, those two can do no wrong. They should be in every single movie ever made from now till the end of history. They were just so entertaining, and the chemistry between them is like nothing I've ever seen before. It's kind of disheartening that they're not a couple in real life because I reckon they would be amazing together.
I just really hope I still have one movie to watch they're in together. That is it Gangster Squad or something?
I think that was it.
Gangster something.
I'm pretty sure it's Gangster Squad, yeah.
But yeah, I hope that it happens again in the future, that they do more movies together because it is Gangster Squad, because they obviously are perfect together on screen.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
We need more.
Oh, definitely. One thing that I thought was really cool was there was a montage in the bar, like when Cal finally, sort of ditches the training wheels and stuff. You know that montage where the camera is just going through in one continuous motion and you see him talking to one girl, then the next thing he's over here talking to another girl, and then, he's like talking to all these different women as the camera is going through. He's in all these different places in the bar, and I thought that was actually really well done. I'm guessing it was with a motion tracking camera, which is like a, set on a robotic course, so they would have just done that same shot over and over and over again with him in different positions. But that was very effective. I actually thought that looked really cool. I did notice at one point that there was a mistake in the film. I found it. I saw it. At one point, so the son is 13. We definitely established that. But later in the film, Cal says something about his 15-year-old son. Controversy.
Does he?
He does. He said he was 15, and I was like, hang on a second. And I paused it, and I was no, he was definitely 13. And I checked that bit out again, and I was like, no, he said 15. Okay, so yeah. That I thought was kind of sloppy because, you'd sort of, the writers may have realized that, or maybe even Steve Carell should have been like, hey, wait a minute, or the director. I don't know. Someone should have picked that up. But anyway, and I did think, of course, the twist, which we will talk about in the sealed section, I thought was a lot of fun, and that came out of nowhere. So yeah, that was pretty good. Look, overall, it's not terrible.
Well, a lot of people like it. I was actually quite surprised for some of the questionable stuff in it. I am surprised that so many people rate it so highly because, usually with any kind of film that has anything a bit questionable, you get a lot of people complaining about it. And so, yeah, that's why another reason why I recommended it to you, because I thought, well, I don't really like it except for the Emma and Ryan stuff, but so many people do like it, so maybe you would like it more than me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But no, as it turns out, oh my God, you and I were on the same page with that. I do love the number one review on Letterboxd. I love that Emma Stone leaves a boring dude during dinner to go make out with Ryan Gosling cinematic universe.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Well done, Ellie, if you're listening, which you're probably not, but anyway. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I've got to say about... Oh, no, there was actually one thing. So I'm watching the film and... Damn, I can't say. Okay, so there's a key phrase that starts your Google Home, which is either okay or hey, G word, and then you ask it a question and it says. So I'm watching the movie, and there's a scene in a classroom, and all of a sudden, my Google Home starts telling me what my location is, my suburb and postcode and everything. I'm like, what the hell? Where did that come from? So I rewound it a little bit because I thought, what in the movie sounded like those words? And it happened again. The teacher said something, and what the teacher said was, okay, people, here it is. And I don't know why that made my Google Home go, your current location is suburb and postcode and everything. But yeah, I played it twice and it did the exact same thing both times. So yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. But one thing as well that I took away from this film that irked me so goddamn much was, okay, so I watched it on Stan, which is a streaming service we have here in Australia. And I noticed from the very beginning, like in the first few minutes, it was skipping really badly. And it was either just like a second or two, but at one point it skipped like a whole 10 seconds. And I kept having to rewind, go back, rewind, go back, rewind, go back and everything. And yeah, it just really reiterated so much about why physical media is so much better.
But I think that's your internet.
No, it wasn't the internet.
Well, I watched it on Stan and it played fine.
I know it doesn't happen all the time. Like I probably could have put another movie on and it might have been perfectly fine. I don't know why it was skipping. But the point being is that streaming sucks and physical media is better, and that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm not going to go into a mad rant.
Well, except in certain cases, like if you'd paid for this movie, would you be happy that you owned it? I
would hang on. So what if I'd bought the Blu-ray or something, like a blind purchase?
Yeah.
Oh, look, I wouldn't be crushed like I was with Banana Splits. That's another story. But yeah, if I'd paid full price, I would have been a bit.
Although the other option is like renting it as well. Which,
exactly.
I mean, that's the whole thing of. Well, it's still streaming, but if it's Stan that's giving you the issues, I guess, if you rented it from...
Yeah, look, I don't know if it was...
somewhere else.
I don't know what the story was, but yeah, it was just irritating me so freaking much, and it just made me think to myself, yeah, physical media is not going to go away anytime soon, I don't think. That's my point. I'm not really...
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely not.
Yeah. So
it's just not as big as it was... in the boom times, but there's still plenty of people buying stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so no, it made me shake my fist a little at the TV and say why I order. But anyway, that's all I have to say about Crazy Stupid Love. How about you?
Yep, that's it.
All right. Wow.
Until the spoiler sealed section.
Yes, exactly. But then the next film, of course, was the one that I gave you three choices. And you chose a movie that was actually kind of based on Nobbins because he'd been talking about it recently. And that is The Fugitive from 1993, directed by Andrew Davis, who had previously done things like Under Siege and Collateral Damage and Above the Law. Like, this guy had done some Steven Seagal films. And so, it's maybe not the greatest choice for a movie like this. However, Man.
Worked out.
Oh my god. All right. So yes, I have not talked to you about this film since you've seen it. But for those of you playing at home, it's based on a TV series that was, I believe, around in the 80s. Harrison Ford plays Dr. Richard Kimball, who is a man on the run from the law. The U.S. Marshals are after him, led by Samuel Gerard, played by Tommy Lee Jones. And it's basically, it's the simplest of premises. It's a cat and mouse game where Richard Kimball's got to stay not only one step or two steps ahead of the law, but he's also got to try and find the one-armed man who killed his wife that was the reason why he went to prison and managed to escape kind of reluctantly. Yeah, that's all there is to it. But, yeah, isn't this film incredible? Seriously.
Yeah, I know I said last time that I wasn't sure if I'd seen it and didn't remember it or not, but I think I maybe just walked into the room when my family was watching it and saw a bit of it or something, or maybe I've just even seen bits over the years when they play a scene in something or whatever. Because I definitely haven't seen it before.
Right. Oh, that's good.
But yeah, I was surprised that it got into the story so quickly.
Yes.
Because as soon as it starts, like, because the bus crashes and he can get out. And then I was like, oh wow, this is really early. I can't remember how far into the movie it was, but I think the wife dies pretty much the opening credits.
Yeah, you get those flashback moments.
Yeah, so, and then it's just a quick court thing, and then he's going to jail. And so I was like, how are they going to keep this going for the whole movie is just, and then the way it's going, and they have the choppers, and Tommy Lee Jones is organizing everything. I'm just like, how is he going to keep away from them for the whole length of the movie? But yeah, they pull it off.
Now I've got to ask, do you have cameras set up around my place, or have you looked at my notes in some kind of way? Because the exact thing I had was how fast the first act moves.
Did you also write down how awkwardly he tries to get out the window of the bus?
No, but now that
he does
you
it in
mention
a really awkward way. But then I was like, oh, okay. I guess he had to do that so that it would take him longer to get out, because the whole thing is there's a train coming and it's building up the dramatic thing of, is he going to get out? Is the train going to hit?
Yeah,
whatever. But yeah, I was just watching him like, why would you try get out a window like that? Or the frame of a broken window.
Yeah. No, that first act was lightning fast, and I think that just added so much to the enjoyment of the film, because it moves at a cracking pace. Like in the court scene, you don't see his defense or anything like that. It's just pretty much straight away, it's
just like the sentencing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
The judge talking.
Yeah, but then you kind of realize, wow, you didn't need to see all of that other stuff.
No, it doesn't matter.
The editing in this thing was incredible. The film was actually it was actually nominated for 7 Academy Awards that
did it
year.
Win?
The only one that it won was Tommy Lee Jones for Best Supporting Actor, which...
That's well deserved.
Oh my God, is it ever? But I'm pretty sure Best Editing was one of the other awards that it was nominated for anyway. I'm just looking now. So Best Picture... It was actually nominated for Best Picture that year, which is crazy because...
What won? Do we?
Schindler's List won pretty much everything that year.
Then what bad luck to go up against a film like that.
Yeah, which you can kind of understand. But see, this is what I think I've touched on it in a previous episode. How the way that cinema has changed, or maybe it was you and I having a conversation. I can't remember. How cinema has changed so much now because movies these days that win or get nominated for Best Picture and stuff are usually topical films that have a message or a political kind of a thing to say or stuff like that. Hell no.
Or like a biopic.
Yeah. No,
true
wait,
story
back in 94, it was The Fugitive up for Best Picture, I mean, yeah. So it was, Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor, Best Cinematography. So, yep, Nobbins was right. Best Film Editing, Best Score, Best Sound Effects Editing.
I did write down great music.
So did I. Well, actually, I wrote solid score, but that's, same thing. So yeah, it was nominated for a whole bunch of Oscars, including Best Picture, and I mean that's pretty amazing. Like I said, for an action thriller to be, because I mean, let's face it, a film like that nowadays is not going to get nominated for Best Picture. No way.
No, it just
which is really interesting.
People probably just actually, I'm trying to think. Do we get movies like this now that are like complete thrillers and not like action comedies or
Yeah. Well, in a way, that movie on that poster behind you, I guess, is kind of it's not really an action thriller, but
it's different.
And talking about prisoners, of course,
winning awards.
Yeah. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Do you know what really threw me though?
What's that?
At the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
Harrison Ford with a beard.
Yeah.
I have not seen that before, and it was strange.
Yeah. What really threw me is when he dyed his hair black, and I was like, wait a minute, who is that? He's a completely different person. And,
came out really fast.
Oh, you noticed that as well. Yes,
yeah.
Yep.
I know, suddenly there's a scene and I'm like, oh, has he had a few showers? It's completely washed out now.
I noticed the exact same thing. It was like, why did they even bother doing that? But
yeah, he's not trying to hide who he is anymore.
But no, the character of Gerard, played by Tommy Lee Jones, though, is so iconic. I love so much that it's, to him, it is the job. It doesn't matter. Like that, again, iconic scene in the dam, where the two characters finally confront each other, which is fairly early on as well. And Kimball says to Gerard, I didn't kill my wife. And Gerard just replies with, I don't care. And it's like, man, that tells you so much about his character. Like, yeah, he doesn't care. It's not an issue of whether the suspect is right or wrong. He just needs to bring him in. Like, that is all that matters to him. And yeah, I do love the relationship between the two of them, how that develops. And of course, we'll talk about more in the sealed section. But
I think he is like one of the coolest characters ever in this movie. I just was almost straight away. I was just like totally into him. I'm like, you are so cool.
Yeah. And I love so much how he has a sense of humor. I mean, yeah, he is like this deeply serious guy who's just like, the job is the only thing that matters. But he and his whole team, like, there's all this like hilarious banter going on that's very dry.
Was it like, don't let them give you crap about your ponytail?
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Do you know that guy? When there was a scene where they were kind of doing a bit of an undercover thing, I'm like, oh, who's this guy with this cool long curly hair or whatever? And I'm like, where did he come from? And then I realized that I had seen him earlier because he had his hair tied back.
Ah, okay. He reminded me of Judge Reinhold, who's most notable from the Beverly Hills Cop films. I don't know if you remember.
I haven't seen those since I was a kid.
Yeah, fair enough. He just sort of had that same look about him. But look, honestly, I mean, this whole film, I love how instantly from the get-go you have sympathy for Richard Kimball. Because you're aware that he didn't do it. That the way that the information is broadcast to the audience. It was
quite interesting because they kind of at first didn't show enough. So for a second I was, wondering, like, not seriously because I figured he didn't do it because of the movie.
Yeah,
but they kind of made it a bit sort of mysterious at the very beginning until they then showed the other guy and the whole
and so
thing.
Of course when he's sentenced to death row and everything, it's just like, wow, oh my god. And then when he escapes through that bus crash and stuff, you are so behind this character, like, and that is essential for a movie like this. I mean, like I was saying with Crazy Stupid Love, where you don't give a shit about Steve Carell's character, like, I've forgotten his name already. Cal, there you go.
Cal.
That's the thing, who cares? Whereas in this instance, the character has so many stakes to overcome, and
But at the same time, Tommy Lee Jones is so cool that I kind of like want him to get the guy. Obviously, I want them to work it out, but
I completely agree.
You're kind of rooting for both of them at the same time.
And that is one of the things that makes this film so brilliant, is that it's not good versus evil; it's good versus good. Versus evil. I mean, that's actually probably a good way to describe it. I was actually surprised when I mean, there was some minor roles in it. One, of course, Julianne Moore, who was
Yeah,
in Crazy Stupid Love.
I saw her name come up and I was like, oh, who's she gonna be? And then
Yeah,
she finally turns up and I'm like, oh, there's like two scenes.
yeah, they were pivotal though.
Yeah.
But the one person that I was surprised that I didn't remember being in the film was Jane Lynch, who
Oh
was one
yeah,
of the
I
other.
saw her and I'm like, that's Jane Lynch, isn't it?
Yeah,
But I wasn't quite sure because I don't think I've seen her in something from that
yeah,
time. I've
yeah,
only seen her in more recent
yeah.
things. But I was like, it's got to be her, surely. And then yeah, I checked the
Hmm.
credits and
Yep. So yeah, that was a surprise. And I thought, yeah, she was great. Yeah, and just the way that everything falls into place is just perfection to me. Yeah, the whole sort of pursuit of the one-armed man. I mean, Richard Kimball's not a detective by any means, but he does the best that he can, and the way that there are background characters sort of positioned in the right moments to help him out. In a way, it was sort of like even the locations for this film, they weren't just there for the action to take place or whatever. They were part of the story in a way, even the apartment that he rents from that couple. And of course, when there's a police raid and everything, and it's just like, oh shit, how's he going to get out? Like there's no way out and stuff. And then you find out it's not for him, and it's like, oh my God, that's so freaking clever. And just every location
well,
played a
that's
part.
like that early scene in the tunnel.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
And you're like, oh, it's kind of blocked off on each side. And this was early on in the movie too,
first
so
act,
it
yeah.
added to that. How is this going to stretch out for the whole movie?
Yep. Yeah, no, look, honestly, that to me is another 5-star film. I couldn't fault it.
I gave it 4.5 because first time watch, but
Yeah.
I feel like maybe even just for Tommy Lee Jones is worth putting on that extra half star. I don't know. I'll see. I'll probably.
Look, honestly,
I will watch it again.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing. Like, it is so rewatchable. Yeah, it's one of those films that you know the outcome, you know what's going to happen, you know all of these things, but it doesn't matter. It's the journey getting there that is the excitement.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, that's to mention Prisoners again. That's like the thing with that is it's quite a mystery element because it's like what's happened to these girls that were abducted, and it's dark. But I just kind of love it so much that I just like the journey of just going along and Detective Loki, another cool guy going after stuff. So it's just kind of
Can you
fun to be there.
imagine a film where Detective Loki and Samuel Gerard have to team up together for, I don't even care what the case is. Maybe it's got something to do with the talking cat. Who knows? Actually, yeah, Steve Rudzinski directing those two characters in a case involving a talking cat. Now that is 5 stars. Surely you would just instantly, yeah.
That's got to be amazing.
Yeah. Oh man,
Should pitch it to Steve.
I mean, Tommy Lee Jones is probably a little bit old now for that role, but yeah. Who knows?
I mean, maybe he can be more like a mentor type, like higher up, and then he's either mentor to Loki, or we can bring in a third person.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, we've got to get on the blower to Steve Rudzinski and see if we can maybe make this happen somehow. Because
can we Kickstarter to get Jake Gyllenhaal to come back and be Detective Loki?
Oh my God!
In a Steve Rudzinski film.
Please let it happen. I have not seen the sequel to The Fugitive, which was a film.
Oh.
You didn't know.
I didn't know there was
There's
a
film called U.S. Marshals that came out in 1998. And I actually have not seen that film, but I think it might be time to check it out. What?
Well, no, I just saw it's like actually Tommy Lee Jones being his character.
That's the thing. His character was so big.
I have to watch this.
And it's got Robert Downey Jr. in it as well.
And Tom Wood. He's Ponytail guy.
Right.
And actually there's some other guys too that I recognize the names from before. So that must be his team is
probably
with him.
It only got 30% on Rotten Tomatoes, but
3.1 on Letterboxd, so that's
But
It's
no, I
pretty
think I
good.
might check it out one day. I don't even know what
No,
the
I have to watch it.
plot is or anything.
I'm seeing from people I follow, I'm seeing a lot of 3.5
Okay.
stars, which, is fine
Yeah, yeah.
for a sequel.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
pretty good.
absolutely. Yeah, look, I wouldn't
But I just
expect.
if it's written as well for his
I
character,
wouldn't expect a lot from it, but I would definitely be willing to give it a go. So, yeah. Maybe on the next episode we might actually be discussing this one. I don't know.
well, I because that character is like one of my all-time favorite characters now. I have to watch it.
Oh, I love this. The number one review on Letterboxd. I keep saying that a lot during this episode. I watched this entire movie not realizing it was a sequel to The Fugitive, thinking, hey, this is like a worse version of The Fugitive. Well done, Amanda the Jedi. Yeah, all right. Well, yeah, no, look, to me, The Fugitive is an absolutely perfect film. It probably will never refrain from being that way for me. And I'm
I think
very
that's
happy that you
probably
enjoy it.
the best one so far that I've got from your picks.
Oh, okay. Oh, there you go. Oh,
I
yeah.
think I don't remember what the others were, but I don't think I've rated any nearly so high as this one.
Didn't you rate Kung Pao like a 4 or something?
Yeah,
Pretty
not even close. That's
sure.
definitely the worst so far.
Is it though?
Yeah,
Anyway,
it is.
all right. Well, now comes the fun part where we talk about what movies we're going to discuss on the next episode.
Yeah.
So we gave it a bit of thought, and Frankie said to me, "Oh, it's your turn to pick a movie," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And I started scrolling through some of my most favorite films that I've rated on Letterboxd, and I came across one that I saw, I think, 10 times at the cinema when it came out. And I know it is a film that we both loved very much, and that is Birds of Prey and the something something emancipation something something Harley Quinn. I don't know. We're just going to
Yeah.
call it Birds of Prey. Because, yeah, that is the absolute definition of a good time for the two of us.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And all right, what else have you got in terms of homework movies for me? I think we'll start with you tonight.
All right. I have picked three movies. Two I feel like go really well with Birds of Prey, and the other one not so much, but it's just a good film that, you know, I would be happy for you to
It's a
watch.
good time.
Yeah. Okay, so first film. I've kind of um mixed two reviews together
Okay.
to just give a bit more.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So the director steeps this movie in menacing subtext and substance, never approaching a scene the way you expect, never allowing the viewer to guess what will happen next. Every plot twist is dark and absurd. Some could make viewers gasp in horror and
Ooh.
laugh at once.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing.
Hmm.
Hmm.
The next one. Neither the comedy nor the action was toned down in lieu of the other. A gleefully dopey action comedy with a nonsense plot and the expected hijinks that nonetheless consistently entertains.
Well, that sounds amazing as well.
And the writing team are focused on the juvenile with gross out gags galore, and the effects crew have a field day with some inventive blood splattering, cheerfully offensive.
Ooh, okay. For a while there, I was like, yeah, but then when you said cheerfully offensive, I was like, ooh. Look, I'm going to go with the first one. That one I think intrigued me the most out of all of them. So,
Well, that's pretty good because, as you said, Poor Things was your first Yorgos Lanthimos
oh,
film.
you got me.
So now you're going to watch another one, and it is Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Ah, okay, which is a film that you have talked about so much for a while now. Okay, all right, let me just write that down. All right, yep, no, that's cool. Look, I mean, one of the things that I loved about Poor Things was the visuals and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah,
This one, you get the fun acting style
okay.
that, I mean, it yeah, you'll notice it at the beginning because you're like, it's Colin Farrell and Nicole Kidman. They are great actors, but this,
Hmm.
yeah, the way that they're speaking, it's a
Okay.
bit different.
All right. No, that's fair enough. All right.
But
Well.
yeah, and I saw this a long time ago,
Hmm.
so I'm looking forward to revisiting,
Mm-hmm.
and it's streaming on Stan.
Oh no. Okay. Let's just wait and
Hopefully, one of the
see.
good ones
Yes.
for
Yes.
you.
Exactly. All right. Now I noticed that you didn't put in your Rotten Tomatoes scores for
Oh, I can tell you.
those because I thought we were doing
I
that.
mean, it's a bit late now. This one had
Mm-hmm.
79%. The other ones had
Oh.
49 and 44.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, there you go. All right. So as far as the three that I've got for you, the first one has a Rotten Tomatoes critic score of 59%, but an audience score of 66%. I've actually got two reviews here because I just couldn't pick between them. So the Rotten Tomatoes critics one says, filled with stunning outfits, a superb cast, and a
Ooh.
soup con of subversive humour, this is one of the best Australian movies in years. But then there was a a letterbox quote that I just had to pilfer as well. I fucking love it when women look fabulous and untouchable while the world burns around them. I was like, oh, that's good. So the second one has a Rotten Tomatoes critic score of 89% and an audience score of 88%. And the review I've picked says, forget gushing quotes and star ratings. Probably the most effective way to advertise this movie is to strap heart rate monitors on viewers and put the results on the poster.
Mm.
And the third one, the Rotten Tomatoes critic score is 77%. The audience score is 86%. So one way or another, you're getting a good movie this week. And the review that I picked says, this is a movie for people who like comedy, sword fights, unlikely friends, transformations, personal discovery, and above all, love.
Hmm. Well, I'm going to go for the vague one and pick the second one.
Ooh, so that was the
Because I'm
heart
like, I
rate
don't know if the
monitors?
heart rate monitor is because there's so much action going on or because it's like a full on horror or what. So let's see.
All right. There was another quote I was almost going to get from that because they said that it was director Sam Mendes's best film that he's ever done and stuff. But you are going to be watching 1917,
Ah, the war
the war
movie.
movie. Yep. Which I'm actually surprised you picked that one out of the two because I honestly thought the first and third one were more ones that you would pick. But this is cool. So 1917. Look, I'm
Is this the one? Oh,
It's designed as one continuous shot.
yes. And no, I just saw Andrew Scott's name,
Mm-hmm.
and that reminded me because I was watching a video of, talking about his memorable roles.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a scene from that they played, and he was talking about how, he was walking along and he had to, at one stage, like get a cigarette out and light it. And he was saying, like, how annoying it was because they did these really long takes. So if you
Yeah,
stuffed it up, you had to go
yeah.
back to the beginning and do the entire thing
That's
again.
the thing. Like, okay, so you and I are on the same page as far as war films. If there's something to the film, because like for me, Jarhead is one. Actually, that was Jake Gyllenhaal, wasn't it? Yeah. That one appealed to me because it's about a gung ho American who goes over to Iraq in 2003 or whatever, and is all like, "Oh my god, yeah, we're gonna kill some people and stuff," and nothing happens. Like that's the thing with that film is that he's bored, and it shows you this different facet of war. And I always thought that was fascinating, and so I like that one. Hacksaw Ridge was another one that was a really great film. Like, out of all the war movies, it takes something special to impress me. 1917, you, war is just like, yeah, it is, of course, set in the war and stuff, but the fact that this film on a technical level is so incredible to watch. It is essential
Yes, it's been
viewing.
on my list to watch for ages.
Yeah, yeah. No, I saw that in the cinema when it came out, and yeah, I was just blown away by how they made this film. So Yeah, if you like things like that, like gimmicks, then yeah, absolutely, this is definitely a film you got to see. But not only that, it is a really great film. Like the story is actually fantastic, and the performances, everything about it is absolutely amazing. So yeah, I think you're going to like that one. But again,
I
I'm
hope so.
surprised that you chose that out of the three. That's cool. I
Well,
thought you were going to
you
go
got
for
me
the.
with being
I
mysterious.
know, but I thought stunning outfits and women looking fabulous
Well,
while the
yeah,
world burns was
stunning
gonna.
outfits did stand out, but
Yeah. Nah, that's all good. I am though definitely keeping films one and three for future reference because
oh yeah.
they're two
Yeah, I've
films
got
that
a
you need to
list
see.
that I pick from each time, and so sometimes I pick the same films again, and sometimes I don't. And
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, this time I themed it a little bit, even though you didn't pick the ones that were themed a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, well, actually, I rated all three films 4 stars,
Hmm.
so I can't really say if you picked the best one. I mean, you definitely picked the most unique one.
Well, of
But
course, if
yeah,
it's
I'm
a
excited that you're
yogurt film.
gonna watch another film because well, actually this one I gave 4 stars, like I said.
Hmm.
The favorite and the lobster, I think I gave everything 4 stars.
Yeah.
Um, and the favorite and the lobster I think I like more than Poor Things because Poor Things just didn't pull me in. The
Hmm.
lobster really pulled me in.
Hmm.
And the favorite was pretty good. I saw that at the cinema.
Hmm.
Killing of a Sacred Deer, I'm not as like I don't remember it enough because it's
Right,
been
right.
so long. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I gave it 4 stars, so obviously quite
All
liked
right.
it.
Well, I will be checking that out soon.
And you
Uh,
can see why I have issues with Barry Keoghan. It's like the Jamie Dornan thing again, where I've just
right, right.
except he continues to play weirdo
Hmm.
characters quite a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's a lovely guy in real life.
Oh, look, absolutely.
But on screen,
Hmm.
I don't really see that. Well,
No.
not so far. I don't know. I haven't seen all his films, but the
Yeah.
ones I have seen, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen part of him that. Yeah, never mind.
Well,
All right. Well, I think then in that case it's probably time to say good night and goodbye and auf Wiedersehen and all that to our dear viewers who do not want to hear any spoilers for The Crow, Crazy Stupid Love, or The Fugitive. But if you're the type of people who are like, well, we've seen The Crow, we've seen The Fugitive, and who cares about Crazy Stupid Love, then you can come join us. But for everyone else who's going to sign off now, thank you very much for joining us for this incredible epic through our watching history of the last couple of weeks. I don't know, that doesn't sound as epic now that I say that, but did you have anything you want to say to the viewers who are leaving now?
not really. Just enjoy some films. Thank you for listening, and hopefully you'll be back next time.
See, there you go. That wasn't not really. You had plenty to say. All right. But for everyone who either doesn't care or knows about these films and everything, come on and join us in the sealed section. Alrighty, welcome to the sealed section where things get sexy and spoilery and not really sexy, but they definitely get spoilery. So, alright, so what did you want to say about Crazy Stupid Love? Because
Oh,
there's a few things that we've got
oh,
to talk about with that
yeah.
one.
Shall we start with the creepy kid?
Yes! Let's start with the Well, is it the kid who was creepy, or was it the 17-year-old sending him or giving him nude photos at the end?
It was both.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm more worried about him with his. Oh, the girl says I'm making her feel uncomfortable, so I'm just gonna keep doing it.
I agree. Like, you and I aren't the sort of people who are like into big social topics and, we don't care about that stuff, but yeah, I was sort of like, dude, you're going to be a rapist
And
one day.
the speech at the end, at the graduation thing, where there's all the big speeches and stuff, and then like Cal's just kind of like, do whatever. And so then he's like, what's her name? Jessica?
Yeah,
It's Jessica,
it
wasn't it?
was. Yeah.
She's like, Jessica, I love you,
I know,
whatever, and
that's
doing all this thing. And she's
obsessive.
just laughing and thinks it's funny, and Cal's just laughing and thinks it's funny. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's not
I mean, it's
right.
kind of
He's going to be a terrible
it's
person.
it's like when I was watching you with Brad Dourif. I mean, you're just like every film you're like, oh my god, I love you, Brad Dourif. Oh my god. And next film you're like, oh, Brad, I'm licking the screen when your face is close up on it. So I was getting Frankie vibes from the kid.
It's interesting you picked Brad Dourif for
Look,
that story. Is that because of the age difference?
no, it was. Oh, actually, there you go. No, but it was more. My brain had to quickly think of all the actors that you've been obsessed with, and
Yeah,
creepy
but
stalkerish.
he's not like really about looks.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's just move on. So yeah, but look, there was that. But the fact. So yeah, so Jessica had taken all these nude photos to give to Cal, which her parents find them instead, and there's this whole big thing and stuff. And then yeah, so at the end, after the kid's declared his love for her, and she's like, oh, okay. I mean, you're probably going to be a date rapist in the end, but who cares? No, she says to him, like, one day when you're old enough, but here in the meantime. And she gives him nude photos of herself. And I'm just like, no, that
It's
feels
such
wrong.
it's such a weird scene because it's weird where he's like, "Oh, you liked my dad, and when I get older, I'll look like him, so I'll come find you." And it was kind of well, it was weird,
I'll
but then he
come
does like
find you.
then he does the handshake like this is it, all good, it's ending, and it could have ended
It
there.
should have ended
She
there.
didn't need to. Why would you just be fine giving your nude photos to the creepy 13-year-old?
And more importantly, why would you be fine making a film where a chick that hot gives nude photos to someone and we don't get to see them? I mean, what is that about?
Because she's a 17-year-old.
But she wasn't. She was older than that.
In the movie, she was a
Yeah,
17-year-old.
but
So it would still be completely wrong to do it because of the character.
well, yeah, but anyway, there you go. I've said something inappropriate. But the big twist, of course, at the end, where
Yeah, where everyone kind of comes together.
I would have worded that differently,
Well,
but yeah. For those
yeah,
for
I
those of
forgot
you who are
about your
wondering what
brain.
this scene, it is not an all-out orgy at the end. So yeah, so what was it? Cal and Julianne Moore, whatever the hell her name is, like they're about to, and then it turns out that Emma Stone is actually their daughter.
Yeah.
Um,
So, Emma Stone's their daughter. She was bringing her new boyfriend to meet the mum,
Yeah,
not knowing the dad
yeah.
was going to be there.
Yeah.
And then in she walks with Ryan Gosling.
And so, of course, yeah, Ryan Gosling, who was a notorious womanizer, who was mentoring his, like, Hannah's father. And so, yeah, there's this whole big thing at the end, which I actually thought was pretty clever because I did not see that coming. And I had to think for a second. I was like, wait a minute, have we had any clues that Hannah was their daughter? And I thought, no, but at the same time, like, they didn't sort of force it, like, we can't know that information. It was just, we just didn't know, and so...
Yeah, it just wasn't important to any of the scenes to say anything.
And, yeah, like, we knew that there was, the daughter was
I mean, as
Nana.
Cal said, you never wanted me to talk about my kids.
Yeah,
so
yeah, and we knew that
he
there was...
never mentioned it to Jacob.
Was it that we knew there was a kid named Nana, but we didn't know that that was Hannah's nickname or something?
I don't know if that got mentioned. I can't remember.
Oh, anyway, it's irrelevant. But yeah, and then of course, like the whole big fight because Kevin Bacon then turns up and Jessica.
That was so funny. And then Jacob's like, "Who's David Lindhagen?" And then he's like taking off his rings and
yeah. And then of course, Jessica, the babysitter's father, turns up thinking that there's something going on between Cal and Jessica, and so there's this massive fight scene with the three of them because Cal's trying to beat up Kevin Bacon and Jessica's dad's trying to beat up Cal, and like, oh man! And then Ryan Gosling steps in and like, yeah, that was actually pretty funny. I like that. That was pretty wild and chaotic, but unfortunately, it didn't really sort of go anywhere after that. But I thought that scene at the end, the whole high school speech and everything was very hokey, especially when Cal gets up to take over, it's like, oh god, here we go again. I've seen this before.
But then you've got the teacher, so
Oh yeah,
we can talk about the teacher
that's
stuff now.
right. So Marissa Tomei plays a lady named Kate who, when Cal is doing all his womanizing and everything, he hooks up with Kate, who they go home together, and he sleeps with her, and you sort of actually think like at first, because he's laying on the bullshit at first, and she's not interested, but then going against what Ryan Gosling had taught him, he just blurts out all this stuff, like boring stuff about his kids and his job and everything, and she's like, oh wow, this is so refreshing, someone who's honest. And then so she fucks his brains out, and then yeah, he kind of abandons her though, and then you find out later that she's actually his son's teacher. And I thought, oh okay, didn't see that coming. This is going to be interesting, because the first time you find that out is at a parent-teacher interview where both Cal and Emily, played by Julianne Moore, turn up, and yeah, that just leads to quite a situation. And I thought that was cool, but again, it didn't go anywhere really after that. Like, it didn't sort of achieve that kind of level of interest.
Yeah, I think it was just a bit of comedy.
Yeah.
Just because of her, like, big reactions to things.
Yeah. So, anyway, I think that was all the spoilers I had for that film. So, The Fugitive. Was there anything spoilery about that? I mean, I guess we could sort of talk about the ending. So, yeah, it turns out, like, it's this whole thing with this pharmaceutical company that is trying to get rid of Richard Kimball because he's found out about this drug and it has these bad side effects, but they don't want that information out, so it's like they've got to kill him. But the one-armed man turns up and kills his wife. We don't really know why.
The plot was a bit confusing at times.
Oh, really?
About how everyone related to each other. Because you know how there was the photo of the two guys? Yeah. And then at first, I thought at first the guy in the photo was... They'd flashed back to the charity thing they were at, and I thought that was the guy in the photo, and then next thing they're talking about how he died in a car crash or whatever. And so just at times I wasn't sure exactly how everyone fit together.
That might benefit from a rewatch, I guess. But yeah, no, like I said, all the way that all the pieces fell into place, and like how he found out, through the photographs. I love how when he gets to the one-armed man's house, how he left the cops on the phone and left clues there, and knowing that they would come to that house and find those clues and all that sort of stuff. I liked how in the fight on the train towards the end with Kimball and one-armed man, who I wish I could remember his name, because I just keep referring to him as one-armed man, which is probably not the best way to do it. But the fight on the train, where hang on, here we go. Sykes,
was he
Frederick
Sykes?
Yep. Yeah. Between Kimball and Sykes, and I like that how he disarmed him. Oh man, I didn't mean that, but I'll take it. But then, instead of killing him or anything like that, he just handcuffs him and leaves him to a thing, and you're like, well, hang on, I guess he can't really get anywhere, can he? Like, he's handcuffed to a thing, like, he's there now for the cops to come and get him, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, just the casual way he strolls into that press conference or the awards ceremony or whatever it was, and starts hurling accusations and everything. I thought that was cool. Like, for a guy,
it was a good reveal for the friend being the bad guy.
Yeah,
I didn't see that coming until they started telling you that.
Yeah.
And then it was interesting because you flash back to the very beginning where he's like giving the car keys back and stuff.
Yeah.
And saying, thanks for letting me use your car.
Yeah, there were clues there. It was brilliantly orchestrated. I like that it wasn't a case of, this guy just sort of, trying to kill the people that killed his wife and stuff. He was more of just an everyman.
Which makes more sense because, he's a doctor.
Exactly.
He's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like a guy that knows how to fight and go after people. And I guess being a doctor is extra that because, you do no harm.
Yeah, that's right. So I love the outcome, I love that bit in the police car at the end, where Gerard has brought him out in handcuffs and sits him down and like takes the cuffs off, and the look on Harrison Ford's face. Actually, that's something I didn't really mention before, was Ford did a lot of great face acting in that film. And yeah, that moment where he sort of got that surprised look on his face, like, what are you doing? Like, and yeah, a bit of friendly banter between the two, and off they go. And yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I like that. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That's probably all the spoilers I've got for that film. And I don't know if I've got spoilers for The Crow.
Well, no, I mean, you kind of told the whole story up to the girl being kidnapped. There's not really much. I mean, it was typical, face off. Well,
that's
end.
the thing. It does follow a bit of a formula, and so that the bad guy is gonna get what's coming to him and stuff, and good will triumph over evil, and yeah, that's pretty much it, really.
Yeah.
Do you know?
It was a very cool bad guy.
Do you know which scene it was where Brandon died?
No.
Okay, so initially, the scene in the flashback where it's all very orange and everything, and Eric Draven walks in while they're raping Shelley and stuff. Michael Massey, who played Fun Boy, who I might actually add was also in Seven. So Michael Massey was in my two of those films that I love so much. Michael Massey was the guy who shot him, because initially Fun Boy shoots Eric as he walks through the door in the chest, and that was the moment that it happened. But naturally, they can't use that bit in the film, so they have a bit where Eric walks in, and they had to digitally manipulate it and stuff, but Tintin throws knives at him instead, But yeah, that was the scene where it all happened, and Michael Massey was the one who shot him. So I don't even want to imagine what it must have been like for that poor guy, because I mean, obviously it's not his fault, but
yeah, but you've still done it.
Yeah, like you were the one who pulled the trigger that took away someone at the peak of their starting career. So yeah, that would have been pretty terrible, but yeah, so there you go, that's what happened. So all right, well, what do you reckon? Should we get out of here? Because I think we've talked these people's ears off long enough. It's like 2.5 hours or something. So if you have made it this far, congratulations. There's something wrong with you, but no, that's not very nice. Oh, you should see Frankie's face right now. Her brows are furrowed, and she's like, what are you doing? Like, I love how, me talking about naked pictures of a 17-year-old doesn't get that sort of reaction, but me telling people that they should be bored just elicits such a ghastly reaction from you.
Well, we want people to listen to us.
That is true. And if someone has made it this far, they have listened to us, and congratulations.
But we want them to come back next time.
We do want them to come back next time. Well, of course they're going to come back next time. We're talking about Birds of Prey. I mean, if I'm going to order It's a Good Time.
It's going to be 2 hours of you talking about Margot Robbie.
Yes, it is. And I don't see a problem with that. But we'll just see how we go. No, thank you very much to everybody who has stuck around this far. We hope you've had a good time. And yeah, if you want to join us on the socials, like I said, you can find us if you just Google Dan and Frankie, or you can email us at danandfrankiepodcast at either Outlook or gmail.com. I mean, oh my God, we're going to have to employ somebody soon to just sit there full time going through all the emails that we get. So yeah, that's a lie. All right. All right. So until next time, watch lots of movies. And take care of yourselves, don't get COVID, and we will catch you next time.